The Sahara is not just a desert. It is a vast, endless sea of golden waves stretching beyond the horizon, a place where time seems to dissolve into the heat and wind. Travelers who dared to cross it have long whispered about unseen wonders and dangers lurking beneath its dunes, but perhaps none have inspired as much fascination and fear as the stories of a lost city buried somewhere beneath this merciless expanse. Legends speak of a civilization that once thrived here, a metropolis of astounding beauty, wealth, and knowledge, swallowed by the sands so completely that no trace remains visible to the modern eye. These whispers have persisted for centuries, carried in the tales of nomads, in ancient maps, and in the fragmented writings of explorers who claim to glimpse ruins shimmering in the heat haze. The first accounts appear almost dreamlike. Arab traders in the early centuries described wandering through areas of the desert where the ground seemed unnatural, with hints of walls and towers faintly visible beneath the sand. To many historians, these stories were dismissed as mere mirages, the product of heat stroke and imagination. But others could not ignore the patterns repeating in different regions, the consistency of details that no ordinary traveler could invent. Could these fleeting glimpses have been real? Could an entire city, larger and more sophisticated than any settlement previously imagined in this unforgiving landscape, have once existed here? To imagine it is to imagine a world lost forever. Scholars speculate that its streets were lined with structures of stone so precise and monumental that they rivaled the great cities of the Mediterranean. Markets must have teemed with traders from distant lands, their goods, spices, metals, fabrics, arriving from corners of the world far beyond the desert's edge. Temples dedicated to gods whose names have faded into obscurity would have risen like sentinels, their towers catching the light of the blazing sun. Artisans and scholars, living within a civilization that understood techniques and concepts centuries ahead of its time, would have debated philosophy, measured the stars, and chronicled their world in scripts that remain undeciphered. Yet somehow all of it vanished. Not a single city street, no grand palace, no library filled with knowledge survived, or at least none has been confirmed by modern science. The mystery deepens when we consider the sheer difficulty of surviving the Sahara itself. This is a desert that can swallow men, beasts, and even entire armies with nothing more than wind and sand. Temperatures soar during the day and plummet at night. Sandstorms can erase landmarks and disorient the most experienced guides. To imagine building a city here, let alone sustaining one, is almost inconceivable. And yet, the possibility cannot be dismissed entirely. Nature, for all its cruelty, also leaves subtle clues. Dried riverbeds suggesting ancient water sources, unexpected pockets of vegetation, and mineral deposits that hint at trade and metallurgy. If a civilization truly existed here, these are the hints that remain, whispering through the ages to those willing to listen. What drives the fascination is not just the scale of the city or the audacity of its builders, but the enigma of its disappearance. Cities rise and fall throughout history, yet most leave traces, ruins, artifacts, written records. This city, if it ever existed, seems to have been erased almost entirely. Was it a catastrophe that caused its downfall? Did war, famine, or plague sweep it away? Or was it something more deliberate, something that led its inhabitants to vanish almost as completely as the sands that now cover their streets? Explorers who have ventured into these remote regions in more recent centuries describe an almost mystical quality to the desert. At certain times of day, the sunlight reflects off dunes in ways that create the illusion of structures, shadows aligning to suggest streets and walls where none can be seen. Some have found artifacts half buried in the sand, fragments of pottery, tools carved from stone, and other objects whose purpose remains unclear. Each discovery is fleeting, often claimed one day and lost to the desert the next, swallowed again by the relentless sands. These tantalizing pieces of evidence fuel speculation, feeding the imagination and giving rise to countless theories. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of this mystery is the human element, the obsession and daring it inspires. Generations of explorers, archaeologists, and treasure hunters have risked everything to uncover traces of this lost city. Some return with astonishing finds, while others disappear entirely, never to be heard from again. The desert is indifferent to ambition, yet the lure of the unknown is irresistible. What drives humans to chase shadows beneath a sun that can kill? It is the promise of discovery, the hope that one day, beneath these endless dunes, the secrets of a vanished civilization might be revealed. And so, as the wind sculpts the sands and erases footprints within hours, the story of a lost city persists, almost like a heartbeat beneath the desert. Whispers of towers, streets, and treasures, passed down through centuries, beckon those with courage and imagination. They hint at a city of marvels that existed and vanished, leaving nothing but mystery. Could it have been a city of unimaginable wealth, advanced knowledge, and human ingenuity? And if so, why did it vanish so completely, leaving the Sahara as silent witness to its secrets? The answer remains hidden, waiting beneath layers of sand and time. But the journey to uncover it has begun, and each step into the desert, each fragment discovered, brings us closer to understanding a truth almost beyond comprehension. A city that once existed in one of the harshest environments on Earth, a civilization erased but never entirely forgotten. The whispers beneath the sand continue, calling us forward, daring us to uncover what history itself seems to have abandoned. The Sahara is not just a desert of sand. It is a canvas for memory, legend, and illusion. For centuries, travelers and traders have crossed its endless dunes, returning with stories that straddle the line between reality and imagination. Some spoke of walls shimmering in the distance, towers glinting as if built from gold, streets paved with stone unlike any known in the surrounding lands. These accounts were often dismissed as mirages, products of exhaustion and the mind playing tricks beneath a merciless sun. Yet the consistency of certain details across different reports suggests there may be more than mere hallucination at play. Perhaps the desert itself preserves echoes of the past, traces of a civilization that has been all but erased, waiting to be remembered. Historical texts hint at something extraordinary. In the 9th century, an Arab merchant recorded seeing structures rising like ghosts as he crossed what is now the Central Sahara. He described rectangular shapes aligned in patterns, with what appeared to be plazas or courtyards. Later, travelers noted similar formations, some of which matched dried riverbeds and natural ridges visible today. Early European explorers in the 18th century found maps with strange annotations in areas long considered uninhabitable. Names of towns, rivers, and cities appear in old manuscripts, names that vanish in modern records as if they had been erased. Were these accounts mere exaggeration, or did they point to a civilization deliberately obscured from view? The desert has a peculiar way of playing tricks on the eye. Heat ripples can make dunes appear to move, creating illusions of walls, towers, and streets where none exist. But within these illusions may lie kernels of truth. Satellite imagery, Recent archaeological surveys and geophysical scans have revealed unusual formations beneath the sand, alignments that mirror the descriptions recorded centuries ago. These formations hint at structures buried just below the surface, suggesting that the city may indeed have existed. But its memory has been preserved only as a fleeting mirage, both literal and metaphorical, for those who dare to search. Yet the mirage of memory is not only a phenomenon of the eye, it is also embedded in oral tradition. Nomadic tribes have passed down stories of an ancient city of wealth and knowledge, a place whose streets were said to glimmer in the sun and whose temples held secrets of the gods. Elders speak of ruins swallowed by sandstorms, of treasures lost when the city vanished beneath the desert. These accounts, passed down for generations, create a web of memory that defies time itself. The city lives not in stone or mortar, but in the recollections and imaginations of those who have ventured into the desert's heart. Archaeologists face a unique challenge when confronting such a place. Unlike typical excavation sites, where physical remains guide their work, they must navigate a landscape where nature itself hides and erases evidence. Every sandstorm, every shift of a dune, threatens to bury what little is exposed. Modern technology, ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, LiDAR scanning, offers glimpses beneath the surface, revealing anomalies that could be ancient walls or streets. Yet these glimpses are tantalizingly incomplete, offering only fragments of a whole that may never be fully known. The desert guards its secrets jealously, allowing only hints and shadows, reinforcing the sense of a civilization lost to both time and memory. Some historians propose that these mirages of memory are more than optical illusions. They are historical echoes, remnants of a world that once existed but was deliberately obscured. Political upheaval, invasions, and trade rivalries could have led to the city's destruction or abandonment. Perhaps its inhabitants buried their knowledge, leaving no records for future generations, aware that the desert could eventually conceal their existence. Others suggest natural catastrophe. Shifting rivers, prolonged droughts, or climate change might have rendered the city uninhabitable, forcing its people to flee and allowing the sands to reclaim their domain. Each theory, though compelling, only deepens the mystery, leaving more questions than answers. The mirage also serves as a metaphor for human obsession. Throughout history, explorers have risked life and limb to find traces of this lost city, drawn by stories passed down through generations and by the tantalizing hope of uncovering secrets that could rewrite history. From 19th century adventurers braving scorching heat and hostile terrain to modern archaeologists navigating satellites and drones, the quest to separate illusion from reality has become a powerful human drama. Some return with artifacts, fragments of pottery, or inscriptions, while others disappear, swallowed by the desert's unforgiving expanse. Every step into the dunes is a step into the unknown, where memory, legend, and mirage intertwine. The city's story, as preserved in memory, also reflects human longing for connection with the past. People are drawn to the idea of civilizations lost not just to time, but to nature itself, as if by discovering them, they can reclaim a piece of forgotten knowledge, wisdom, or grandeur. Each report of walls glimpsed in the heat, of towers emerging briefly from the sands, ignites the imagination, reminding us that even when something is physically erased, it can endure in memory. In this sense, the mirage is not an obstacle. It is a guide, hinting at the outlines of what once was and compelling those willing to see beyond the visible. Perhaps most intriguing is how these memories interact with modern science. When satellite imagery reveals faint, regular patterns beneath the dunes, it seems to validate centuries of stories and legends. What was once dismissed as fantasy now emerges as a plausible reality, challenging assumptions and forcing historians and archaeologists to reconsider the possibilities. Could the desert itself have been a guardian, allowing the city to remain hidden, protecting it from those who might exploit or destroy it until the right observer comes along? The Sahara's secrets appear to choose carefully whom to reveal themselves to, offering glimpses that tease but do not fully disclose, leaving the searcher both frustrated and fascinated. The mirage of memory is also an emotional experience. Those who walk the desert speak of moments when the sands appear to shift in response to their presence, of patterns that seem almost deliberate, as though the landscape remembers the city that once stood here. It is a haunting sensation, blending awe, fear, and reverence, and it underscores the fragile relationship between humans and the natural world. The memory of the city lingers not only in stories and artifacts, but in the very land itself, whispering of a civilization that defied the desert, only to be reclaimed by it. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the dunes, the mirage grows stronger. Shapes appear in the sand, fleeting and uncertain, inviting the imagination to fill in what is missing. Travelers and historians alike are reminded that memory is not just a record of the past. It is a bridge to discovery, a map of what might still lie hidden beneath the Sahara's golden waves. Every ripple in the sand, every echo of an ancient story, beckons with the promise of revelation, hinting that the city's secrets are not entirely lost, merely waiting for those brave enough to see beyond the mirage. In the end, the mirage of memory teaches that the Sahara is more than a desert of sand. It is a repository of history, legend, and wonder. The lost city may have vanished from view, but it endures in the stories, visions, and imagination of all who dare to search. The desert's whispers, faint yet persistent, invite us to look deeper, to question what is real and what is illusion, and to recognize that even in a landscape defined by absence, memory can reveal the presence of a civilization thought to be erased forever. Beneath the sun-scorched expanse of the Sahara, where only wind and sand seem eternal, the faintest traces of a forgotten empire persist. These echoes are not always physical. Sometimes they reside in the fragments of stories, in inscriptions half erased, or in the stubborn alignment of ancient riverbeds that hint at human activity long vanished. Scholars and explorers alike have long speculated about the scale of this lost civilization, imagining a city whose streets once thrummed with life, whose walls rose like sentinels against the desert, and whose influence may have stretched far beyond the dunes. Though the sands have claimed almost all physical evidence, the whispers of its grandeur remain, compelling us to listen closely, to piece together the remnants of a world almost erased. Accounts from early travelers hint at a society that was far more advanced than its contemporaries in surrounding regions. Reports describe vast plazas and thoroughfares, marketplaces teeming with merchants, and monumental buildings carved from stone that had withstood centuries of wind and sun. Some even spoke of libraries filled with scrolls and tablets, repositories of knowledge about astronomy, mathematics, and engineering. While skeptics dismissed such accounts as exaggeration, a pattern emerges when these independent narratives are compared. They speak consistently of a metropolis whose sophistication rivaled, and in some respects exceeded, what we associate with the great civilizations of the Mediterranean or Nile Valley. The empire's influence, if it truly existed, was not merely architectural or economic. It was cultural. Artifacts recovered from distant regions suggest trade networks that could have extended across deserts, mountains, and rivers, connecting this hidden society to far-off lands. Pottery styles, metalwork, and decorative motifs hint at a civilization with both aesthetic sensibilities and technical skill. Its people may have been innovators, developing techniques for irrigation, construction, and even celestial observation that allowed them to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Each fragment, each trace, acts as an echo of what was once a vibrant center of human achievement, a whisper of ambition and intellect carried across time. Yet the echoes are more than just whispers of material culture. They speak to human resilience and adaptability. To survive in the Sahara required ingenuity. Water sources had to be located and managed, food cultivated and stored, shelter constructed to withstand both heat and sandstorms. The empire's architects, engineers, and planners must have understood the rhythms of this environment intimately. Streets and buildings were likely designed to capture shade and channel breezes, while storage pits and granaries ensured survival through harsh seasons. The desert did not simply swallow this civilization. It challenged it, and the people who thrived here would have needed courage, skill, and unwavering determination. But with greatness often comes vulnerability. The very features that allowed this city to flourish may also have contributed to its disappearance. Environmental shifts, a drying river, encroaching sands, or prolonged drought, could have undermined agriculture and trade. Conflicts, whether internal strife or external invasion, may have destabilized the society. And yet, the details remain frustratingly elusive, hidden beneath layers of sand and centuries of forgotten history. Modern explorers find only tantalizing hints. Foundations half buried, fragments of carved stone, and scattered artifacts that suggest scale without offering full comprehension. Each discovery excites as much as it frustrates, a constant reminder that the Sahara guards its secrets jealously. The city's sudden disappearance is part of its haunting allure. Unlike Rome, Athens, or Carthage, which left ruins for generations to study, this empire seems to have been erased almost entirely, leaving no monumental reminder of its existence. Why was it so completely obliterated? Was it the inevitable result of environmental catastrophe? Or did human agency play a decisive role? Perhaps the inhabitants themselves abandoned the city, fleeing in the face of insurmountable challenges, leaving their homes to be consumed by wind and sand. Or maybe invaders arrived, intent on destruction, erasing both population and record in a single violent act. The desert, indifferent and unforgiving, may have finished what human hands began, reclaiming the city entirely. In examining these echoes, historians must navigate between fact and conjecture. Oral traditions, passed down by nomads, recount stories of opulence and grandeur, of temples adorned with gold and streets lined with marble-like stone. Some of these accounts include warnings of divine retribution or curses that befell those who sought to uncover the city. Whether literal or metaphorical, these stories speak to the impression the civilization left on those who came into contact with it. The combination of historical accounts, folklore, and emerging archaeological evidence forms a fragile lattice, one that can hint at what might have been but never fully reveals it. Even the city's geography offers enigmatic clues. A careful study of satellite images shows anomalies beneath the dunes, lines and geometric patterns that suggest organized urban planning rather than random natural formations. Ancient riverbeds, now dry, trace routes that may have supported trade, agriculture, and daily life. Clusters of stone and pottery fragments, found intermittently across vast distances, imply that the civilization was expansive, perhaps encompassing more than a single urban center. These physical traces, when paired with the accounts of travelers and traders from centuries past, begin to form the outlines of a city lost not only in space but in time itself. The emotional resonance of this empire is undeniable. Consider the human stories implied by what remains. A family leaving behind a home hastily abandoned, traders guarding their wares as disaster approached, scholars hiding scrolls in secret vaults, or children wandering empty streets as the desert crept closer. Every fragment recovered carries a silent narrative, a testament to lives lived in ambition, hope, and resilience. Even in absence, the civilization communicates with us through these echoes, reminding us that history is more than dates and names. It is lived experience, and sometimes it whispers rather than shouts. The echoes of this forgotten empire also challenge modern assumptions about the Sahara. Often imagined as an empty, lifeless expanse, the desert emerges as a landscape capable of nurturing sophisticated societies, demanding ingenuity and resilience in return. The presence of an advanced civilization here forces a reconsideration of human potential, geography, and history itself. Could it be that we have underestimated the complexity of human settlement in extreme environments? Could the Sahara have once been a cradle of innovation, a hub of trade, and a seat of knowledge rivaling regions better documented in history books? Finally, the echoes hint at something larger: the fragility of civilization and the inevitability of change. Even the most advanced societies can vanish when the environment shifts, when conflict erupts, or when knowledge is lost. The Sahara, in its quiet, relentless way, reminds us that time spares no one, that even grandeur can dissolve into memory and myth. And yet, the very act of remembering, of uncovering fragments and listening to echoes, allows the lost empire to speak once more, if only faintly. Its story endures, not in full, but in glimpses, shadows, and whispers that continue to captivate all who dare to search for what lies beneath the sands. These echoes, subtle yet persistent, create a tapestry of mystery, intrigue, and human drama. They compel historians, explorers, and dreamers to press further into the Sahara, to follow patterns that are almost imperceptible, to piece together a civilization that defied the harshest environment on Earth. The lost city is more than a relic of the past. It is a challenge, a puzzle, a call to imagination. And as the desert wind sweeps across the dunes, carrying whispers from centuries gone by, it invites us to listen closely, to hear the echoes of a forgotten empire that may still speak to us today. Maps are more than tools for navigation. They are mirrors of knowledge, ambition, and sometimes secrecy. For centuries, cartographers have traced coastlines, rivers, and mountains, attempting to capture the known world. Yet, scattered among these carefully drawn lines are hints of lands and cities that refuse to appear on modern maps. Among them lies the tantalizing suggestion of a city beneath the Sahara, hidden not by sand alone, but by deliberate omission. Some ancient maps depict areas marked with symbols, names, or annotations that vanish from subsequent records, leaving historians to wonder whether a conspiracy, or at least intentional erasure, shielded this metropolis from the eyes of the world. The earliest known references appear in Arab and European manuscripts from the Middle Ages. Some show detailed depictions of settlements in the heart of the desert, sometimes accompanied by warnings. Here lies a place of wealth, forsaken by men. Early travelers who relied on these maps occasionally reported ruins aligning with these annotations, only to find later editions of the same maps mysteriously altered or corrected. Such discrepancies suggest that knowledge of the lost city was never meant to be widespread, perhaps intentionally suppressed to protect its treasures, its secrets, or even the memory of a civilization that had vanished too completely. As exploration expanded during the Age of Discovery, European cartographers inherited these enigmatic maps. Some of the most celebrated mapmakers included notes in the margins, describing lands of gold or ruins of a vanished city, only for these references to disappear in later reproductions. Scholars today debate why such information would be erased. Were the cartographers themselves influenced by political pressures, by the fear of inciting expeditions that could end in disaster, or by secretive patrons who sought to monopolize knowledge? The idea of conspiracy is not far-fetched. History is littered with examples of information deliberately withheld, whether to protect economic interests, sacred knowledge, or personal power. Maps are, in essence, records of human perception and priority. They reveal what societies deemed important and what they wished to hide. The repeated presence of annotations referring to a city beneath the Sahara hints at its significance, but the absence of corroborating evidence makes it a ghost on the page, a shadow of knowledge. Modern technology, from satellite imaging to ground surveys, now reveals anomalies in the desert that echo the locations indicated on centuries-old maps. This alignment between ancient cartography and modern findings lends weight to the possibility that these early mapmakers glimpsed a reality that was soon forgotten, erased, or concealed. The question arises, who would benefit from hiding such a city? Wealth, knowledge, and strategic advantage are all possibilities. A metropolis rich in resources could inspire envy, invasion, or exploitation. Its knowledge, whether of advanced construction, astronomy, or trade, might threaten prevailing powers. By keeping maps vague, incomplete, or deliberately misleading, those in possession of the information could control access to the city, ensuring that its mysteries remained shielded from the curious, the greedy, and the unprepared. In this light, the lost city is not merely hidden by nature. It is cloaked in layers of secrecy, a puzzle wrapped in both sand and strategy. The notion of conspiracy is further supported by historical accounts of explorers who claim to have found ruins corresponding to the map's annotations. In some cases, their discoveries were ignored, discredited, or quietly suppressed. Reports of stone foundations, pottery shards, and ancient tools were sometimes dismissed as misinterpretations or fabrications, despite consistency across independent expeditions. Were these dismissals coincidental, or part of a deliberate effort to obscure the truth? Even today, scholars continue to debate whether the absence of widespread recognition of the lost city reflects its true non-existence or the successful concealment of inconvenient evidence. Maps themselves carry an almost mystical quality when considering lost civilizations. The symbols, lines, and notations are more than geographic. They are a language, a record of observation, interpretation, and sometimes secrecy. To follow these lines across centuries is to follow the footsteps of explorers, cartographers, and perhaps even ancient inhabitants who wish their city to remain hidden. Every misplaced river, every vanished town name, every ambiguous annotation can be read as both clue and challenge, guiding the curious while misleading the uninitiated. The Sahara itself becomes a living labyrinth, its truth encoded in maps that survive only in fragments. Yet conspiracies are rarely simple. Some historians suggest that inconsistencies in maps are not deliberate concealments, but the result of genuine uncertainty, evolving knowledge, and human error. The desert is a difficult, shifting landscape. Rivers change course, dunes migrate, and landmarks vanish. Even the most skilled mapmakers would struggle to accurately chart a civilization half buried by time and sand. But when patterns of omission repeat across cultures, continents, and centuries, the possibility of intentional suppression becomes harder to ignore. Whether through error or design, the result is the same. The lost city of the Sahara remains tantalizingly elusive, known only in whispers, shadows, and the margins of old manuscripts. The human element adds another layer of intrigue. Who are the individuals shaping these maps, deciding what to include or omit? Some were scholars with access to explorers' journals. Others were officials who commanded secrecy, aware of the political and economic implications of revealing a city of unimaginable wealth in an inhospitable desert. Each decision, each erased note, each vague boundary contributes to the puzzle we face today. The interplay of knowledge, ambition, and secrecy transforms the Sahara from a mere desert into a stage where human desire and fear leave subtle yet enduring marks. Modern technology now allows us to revisit these maps with fresh eyes. When researchers overlay satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar results, and LiDAR scans with historical maps, faint alignments emerge, suggesting that the cartographer's annotations were not entirely fanciful. Patterns in dune formations, ancient riverbeds, and isolated stone remnants correspond with locations marked centuries ago. These findings do not provide definitive proof of the lost city, but they offer tantalizing hints that the whispers preserved on parchment were grounded in reality. The desert, once thought to obscure all, may in fact have preserved fragments of knowledge in both sand and ink. The interplay between maps and conspiracy also shapes the narrative of human curiosity and ambition. Explorers who pursue these hints risk not only the dangers of the desert, extreme heat, dehydration, and disorientation, but also the disappointment of chasing mirages, literal or metaphorical. Yet, the possibility of uncovering a civilization erased by both time and human secrecy drives them forward. It is a testament to our enduring desire to connect with the past, to understand what once was, and to uncover secrets deliberately left obscured. Each map, each annotation, becomes a doorway, inviting the bold to step across the threshold into a world lost but not entirely forgotten. Ultimately, the cartographer's work reminds us that knowledge can be fragile, contested, and sometimes dangerous. Maps are not neutral. They're instruments of power, memory, and imagination. In the case of the Sahara's lost city, they are both guides and riddles, pointing to a civilization that may have existed, yet refusing to reveal itself fully. The conspiracy, whether real or perceived, underscores the city's enduring mystery and the lengths to which humans will go to protect or conceal the truth. And so, as the desert winds sweep across the dunes, erasing footprints and whispering secrets, the city remains hidden, its existence recorded faintly in maps, preserved only for those who know where and how to look. The Sahara is a landscape that commands respect, awe, and fear. It is a desert of extremes, where temperatures soar to unbearable heights by day and plunge into bone-chilling cold at night. The sands stretch endlessly, sculpted into towering dunes that shift with every wind, erasing all traces of movement and memory. It is a land indifferent to human ambition, a place where cities, armies, and empires can vanish without leaving a mark. To understand the lost city beneath the Sahara, one must first understand the desert itself, a relentless force capable of both preserving and obliterating, of hiding wonders as easily as it destroys them. Throughout history, the Sahara has swallowed travelers whole. Caravans traversing its expanse often relied on the sun, stars, and fleeting landmarks to navigate, yet many never reached their destinations. Stories abound of entire groups disappearing, leaving only scattered belongings and the occasional fragment of a map to hint at where they might have gone. In this unforgiving environment, survival depends on meticulous preparation, endurance, and luck. It is not merely the heat or the lack of water that threatens life, but the desert's ability to erase every sign of existence, leaving no trace of those who once traversed it. This relentless force is one reason why a city could disappear so completely beneath the Sahara. Unlike the ruins of civilizations in Europe, Asia, or even Egypt, which often remain partially intact for millennia, a city in the desert faces a more insidious enemy. Sand accumulates, shifting with every storm, filling streets, burying buildings, and slowly erasing evidence of human life. Winds can topple walls, sand can corrode metals, and the relentless sun can bleach stone and clay until nothing recognizable remains. In such an environment, even the most robust construction cannot guarantee permanence. The desert does not merely destroy, it assimilates, folding human achievement back into its vast, empty expanse. Yet, the desert's ability to swallow does not always equate to complete erasure. In some cases, it preserves fragments, holding them just beneath the surface where they remain hidden for centuries. Pottery shards, tools, and foundations may survive, awaiting discovery by those willing to venture into the harsh terrain. The challenge lies in knowing where to look and in distinguishing what is significant from the countless fragments scattered across the sands. The desert's selective preservation creates both opportunity and frustration, revealing tantalizing glimpses of the past while concealing the larger story. The human element compounds the desert's danger. Societies that attempted to thrive here had to develop intricate knowledge of water sources, seasonal winds, and safe passage routes. Trade networks depended on oases, rivers, and caravans that could navigate the perilous terrain. Even minor miscalculations could result in catastrophe, and the records of such miscalculations are written only in absence. Lost cities, vanished caravans, and silent ruins. The lost city beneath the Sahara may have succumbed not only to natural forces, but also to human error, misjudgment, or misfortune, illustrating the precariousness of life in this extreme environment. The desert's swallowing power is also symbolic. It reflects the fragility of human achievement and memory, the idea that even the most sophisticated societies can be erased when confronted with forces beyond their control. The lost city becomes a cautionary tale, a reminder that nature can reclaim its dominion regardless of human ambition. The Sahara, in its vast and indifferent expanse, preserves history selectively, rewarding curiosity, patience, and determination while punishing hubris, neglect, and overconfidence. Explorers of the Sahara have often described moments of surreal beauty intertwined with terror. As the sun sets, the dunes cast long, shifting shadows, and the sand reflects the fading light in colors that range from gold to crimson. At times, these illusions create shapes resembling streets, walls, or towers, sparking the imagination and suggesting traces of the city beneath. But these visions are fleeting. The wind shifts, the shapes dissolve, and what seemed like a clue becomes a trick of light and perspective. In this way, the desert is both storyteller and deceiver, offering glimpses of the past while keeping its secrets hidden. Geological shifts add another layer to the desert's consuming nature. Ancient riverbeds, once the lifeblood of civilizations, have dried and altered course. Soil erosion, dune migration, and the slow accumulation of sand over millennia have reshaped the landscape, erasing pathways, settlements, and agricultural terraces. Any city that existed would have faced the constant threat of being buried not only by wind, but by the slow, unstoppable movement of the earth itself. Even today, scientists can detect anomalies beneath the surface using satellite imaging and radar, revealing potential remnants of structures carefully concealed by layers of sediment. The desert's swallowing extends to culture and memory as well. Oral histories speak of cities whose streets were once lined with stone, whose temples held treasures and knowledge. But over generations, these stories fade, distorted by time and the harsh environment. The Sahara transforms memory into legend, turning historical facts into whispers that blur the line between reality and myth. This selective erasure is part of its allure, creating a sense of mystery that has captivated scholars, explorers, and dreamers for centuries. Yet, amid this desolation, human determination persists. Archaeologists, adventurers, and historians continue to venture into the desert, driven by the hope of uncovering fragments of the lost city. Each excavation, each survey, each discovery of pottery, tools, or faint foundations becomes a small victory against the desert's consuming power. These remnants, though modest, hint at a civilization of immense scale and sophistication, one that the sands have tried to hide but have not entirely obliterated. The Sahara's ability to swallow everything also reinforces the stakes of discovery. Every artifact recovered is precious. Every alignment of ruins uncovered beneath the dunes is a rare glimpse into a vanished world. The city, long thought lost, becomes a puzzle of survival, memory, and preservation. It challenges us to consider how human societies endure or fail against extreme natural forces, and it underscores the fragility of knowledge when left vulnerable to time, climate, and human ambition. Ultimately, the desert teaches that disappearance is not always total, and survival is not always visible. What lies beneath the Sahara may remain hidden for centuries, yet its echoes persist in fragments, in stories, and in the imagination of those who seek it. The lost city, swallowed by wind and sand, calls out to explorers not merely as a prize, but as a testament to human resilience, curiosity, and the enduring mystery of the past. In the vast, indifferent expanse of the desert, life and memory are fragile, yet traces endure, waiting for those brave enough to uncover them. The Sahara swallows all, yet it preserves just enough to tempt discovery, creating a delicate balance between erasure and revelation. It is this paradox, the desert as both destroyer and preserver, that shapes the story of the lost city. As explorers follow faint traces and study the landscape, they navigate not only the physical challenges of the desert, but the profound mysteries it has hidden for millennia. Every grain of sand becomes a witness, every dune a guardian, and every echo of past life a clue to a civilization swallowed, but not entirely forgotten. Stories of immense wealth and unimaginable power have long surrounded the lost city beneath the Sahara, captivating the imaginations of travelers, historians, and adventurers alike. Oral traditions speak of streets paved with gold, of palaces adorned with gems and temples containing treasures so vast they defy comprehension. While such tales may seem exaggerated or fantastical, the persistence and consistency of these legends suggest that they are rooted in memory, fragments of a reality long swallowed by the desert. They hint at a civilization not only advanced in architecture and engineering, but also rich in resources, trade, and influence. The allure of gold and power has drawn countless explorers into the Sahara, some returning with tantalizing clues, others disappearing without a trace, leaving only the desert to guard its secrets. Merchants and caravans who traversed the region centuries ago left accounts of encountering relics and ruins that hinted at extraordinary wealth. Gold objects, ceremonial items, and intricately crafted tools were occasionally uncovered, often in locations aligning with old maps or oral histories. These findings were fleeting, yet they ignited fascination across continents, fueling myths of a city where abundance was the norm and opulence defined society. Traders spoke of markets filled with exotic goods, spices, ivory, precious metals, arriving from distant lands, suggesting a hub of commerce and influence. Such richness would naturally attract attention, inspiring both admiration and envy. The legends of wealth were inseparable from tales of power. The city was said to be ruled by a line of kings or councils whose authority extended across the desert, commanding respect and fear. Temples and ceremonial complexes imply a society deeply invested in religion, governance, and ritual. Scholars speculate that these structures may have served not only as spiritual centers, but also as seats of political power, where leaders controlled trade routes, resources, and knowledge. The intertwining of wealth and authority created a civilization that thrived on influence as much as on material prosperity, leaving echoes of its grandeur for future generations to imagine and pursue. Yet wealth and power can be double-edged. The very riches that define the city may have sown the seeds of its downfall. Envy, greed, and ambition, both internal and external, could have brought conflict, rebellion, or invasion. Ancient chronicles hint at rival groups seeking the city's treasures, while oral histories warn of curses or divine retribution befalling those who dared to plunder its wealth. Whether legend, metaphor, or historical fact, these stories underscore the human stakes entwined with the city's riches. Lives risked, ambitions tested, and destinies altered by the pursuit of gold and influence. Explorers and adventurers in more recent centuries were equally captivated by these stories. From the 18th century European expeditions to modern-day archaeologists armed with satellite imagery, many have sought the city as both a historical treasure and a literal one. The Sahara, however, proved relentless. Dunes shifted, artifacts were buried again by wind, and false leads led many astray. Yet each journey yielded small victories, fragments of pottery, inscriptions, or tools that hinted at a larger story. Even if gold was not discovered in abundance, the city's power and sophistication became evident through these remnants, reinforcing the notion that the legends were based on something real. The symbolic weight of gold and power extends beyond material wealth. Gold represents durability, visibility, and legacy, a civilization's attempt to assert permanence against the fleeting nature of human life and the inexorable march of time. In a desert where sand erases footprints within hours, constructing palaces, temples, and artifacts of gold is an act of defiance, a way of saying, "We existed. We mattered. Remember us." Similarly, the pursuit of power reflects human ambition, governance, and ingenuity. The lost city becomes a mirror for our fascination with achievement and authority, and our awe at what humans can create, even in the most inhospitable environments. Legends also hint at a society deeply connected to trade and cultural exchange. The city's wealth likely derived not only from local resources, but also from its position as a hub linking distant regions. Caravans brought goods from sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, and possibly beyond, suggesting a network of influence and commerce that rivaled better-known civilizations. The city may have been a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and technologies, absorbing innovations from across the known world and transmitting its own knowledge outward. This exchange of goods and ideas further amplified both wealth and power, cementing the city's reputation as a center of prosperity and sophistication. The desert's harsh environment amplifies the significance of such wealth and power. To amass resources, sustain trade, and build monumental structures in one of the world's most challenging climates required not only ingenuity, but also social cohesion, leadership, and resilience. Water management, agriculture, and urban planning would have been critical, highlighting the civilization's advanced understanding of both natural and human systems. Wealth was not simply a display of opulence. It was a necessity, a reflection of the society's ability to thrive against the odds. Each legend of gold and each hint of power testifies to this remarkable achievement, preserved in stories even as physical evidence remains scarce. The allure of legends also serves as a psychological driver. Tales of hidden treasure evoke ambition, curiosity, and desire, compelling individuals to risk life and limb to uncover the city. The Sahara, indifferent to human fascination, becomes a stage for ambition, testing the limits of endurance, courage, and resourcefulness. Explorers chasing these legends often confront not only the desert's physical dangers, but also their own expectations and obsessions. Each discovery, no matter how small, is amplified by the weight of centuries of stories, reinforcing the narrative of a city rich in both material wealth and human significance. Yet even as the city's treasures inspire awe, they remain tantalizingly out of reach, hidden beneath layers of sand and time. Gold, gems, and other riches may exist in fragments or have been carried away, yet the legends endure, transforming the Sahara into a landscape of imagination, desire, and historical enigma. The pursuit of the city is thus as much about uncovering its stories as it is about uncovering physical wealth. Every sandstorm, every shifting dune, and every fragment discovered is a reminder of both the city's grandeur and its fragility, a civilization simultaneously present and absent, real and mythical. Ultimately, the legends of gold and power capture the essence of the lost city, a civilization that dared to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth, amassing wealth, knowledge, and influence beyond what we might expect. Its disappearance enhances its mystique, transforming it into a symbol of human ambition, achievement, and the impermanence of even the most extraordinary accomplishments. The Sahara, both guardian and witness, preserves these legends in whispers, shadows, and fragments, inviting those brave enough to venture into the dunes to seek the echoes of a world that once shimmered with gold and pulsed with power. Time is both the greatest creator and destroyer. For the lost city beneath the Sahara, it has been an unforgiving arbiter, erasing streets, palaces, and monuments while leaving behind faint echoes and tantalizing fragments. Every civilization leaves marks on the world, tools, inscriptions, ruins, art. But in this case, time has conspired with the desert to conceal almost everything. Generations of sandstorms, shifting dunes, and relentless sun have buried evidence of human achievement, leaving historians, archaeologists, and explorers to reconstruct a story from whispers, fragments, and shadows. The city, once vibrant and bustling, exists now only in memory, legend, and the faintest signs etched into the landscape. The notion of a civilization lost entirely is extraordinary. Most cities that have fallen to history, Pompeii, Carthage, or Troy, leave traces visible for centuries, sometimes millennia. In contrast, this city seems to have vanished as though it were never there, swallowed almost entirely by sand and secrecy. What allowed it to flourish initially, and what caused its ultimate disappearance, remain questions that intrigue scholars. Environmental factors such as drought, shifting rivers, or desertification undoubtedly played a role, but human decisions, migration, conflict, trade collapses, may have accelerated its demise. Understanding the balance of natural and human forces is crucial to grasping why this civilization was lost to time so completely. Archaeological evidence, though scarce, provides glimpses into the society's sophistication. Foundations of stone structures, fragments of pottery, and rudimentary tools suggest a people adept at construction, craftsmanship, and trade. The presence of items from distant regions implies wide-reaching networks, while the scale and organization of buried structures hint at social complexity and centralized governance. Each fragment recovered is a puzzle piece, offering insight into how people lived, worked, and thought. Yet for every piece uncovered, countless others remain hidden beneath layers of sand, leaving the full picture tantalizingly out of reach. Time also affects the interpretation of evidence. Objects buried for centuries may erode, shift, or become obscured, altering their original context. A fragment of pottery might suggest domestic activity, trade, or ritual, but without corroborating evidence, interpretations remain speculative. Similarly, satellite imagery and geophysical surveys reveal patterns beneath the sand, but these patterns can be deceiving. Natural formations often mimic human structures. Scholars must navigate a delicate balance between imagination and evidence, piecing together a civilization that has left only faint traces of its existence, while avoiding the temptation to overinterpret fleeting clues. The loss of this civilization is also cultural. Written records, if they ever existed, appear to have vanished, leaving no first-hand accounts of governance, philosophy, or daily life. Oral traditions and later historical writings hint at the city's grandeur, but these are filtered through time, often blending observation with myth. In this way, time has not only erased physical structures, but also mediated memory, transforming historical reality into legend. The city survives in imagination as much as in evidence, a testament to the power of human memory and storytelling. Yet paradoxically, time is also what allows the city to remain fascinating. Its near-total disappearance transforms it from a historical curiosity into a mystery of profound human and intellectual interest. The scarcity of evidence fuels speculation, theories, and exploration. Scholars debate its location, its wealth, its social structure, and its fate. Adventurers risk lives navigating the desert in search of traces, drawn by the possibility of uncovering a civilization nearly erased. Time, in swallowing the city, has made it simultaneously more elusive and more compelling. The ephemeral nature of human achievements is a central theme in understanding this lost civilization. Even the grandest monuments, the most sophisticated tools, and the wealthiest societies are vulnerable to the passage of centuries, particularly in extreme environments like the Sahara. The city's disappearance reminds us that permanence is an illusion and that even the most advanced cultures can be erased when confronted with the forces of nature and time. It is a humbling lesson, highlighting the delicate balance between human endeavor and environmental constraints. Survival in such a harsh environment would have required adaptability, ingenuity, and social cohesion. Water sources had to be managed with precision, agriculture organized around scarce resources, and trade routes maintained across treacherous terrain. The city's eventual disappearance suggests that even exceptional human planning and resilience have limits when faced with environmental and social pressures. Time, compounded by the desert's relentless forces, has reclaimed the city entirely, leaving only echoes and shadows for modern eyes to decipher. The emotional impact of a civilization lost to time cannot be overstated. Imagine families leaving their homes, markets falling silent, and temples abandoned as the desert slowly encroached. Each fragment, discovered centuries later, pottery, tools, remnants of walls, carries a story of human triumph, struggle, and ultimate disappearance. The lost city becomes more than a historical curiosity. It is a mirror reflecting human ambition, vulnerability, and mortality. Time, relentless and impartial, spares no civilization, yet leaves clues for those patient and determined enough to seek them. Finally, the city's loss underscores the fragility of historical knowledge. Without physical remains or written records, civilizations can vanish almost entirely, leaving only speculation and imagination. Yet the fragments that survive, the faint alignments beneath sand, the shards of pottery, the echoes in oral tradition, allow us to glimpse what once was. The lost city beneath the Sahara reminds us that history is a delicate tapestry, woven from both presence and absence, evidence and imagination, memory and legend. Time may swallow all, but it cannot completely erase human curiosity, which drives us to uncover, interpret, and reimagine what has been lost. The story of a civilization lost to time is ultimately a story of human resilience, ambition, and the impermanence of achievement. It is a testament to the power of nature, the fragility of societies, and the enduring intrigue of mysteries waiting beneath the sands. The Sahara, vast and indifferent, preserves the faintest traces while demanding patience, insight, and courage from those who seek them. And so, the city endures, not in full, but in fragments, echoes, and dreams, inviting each generation to search, wonder, and reflect on what has been lost to the relentless march of time. The Sahara has never been an empty void, despite its reputation as a barren, lifeless expanse. For millennia, nomadic tribes have traversed its dunes, moving with the seasons, following water sources, and adapting to the harshest conditions on Earth. These tribes are more than wanderers. They are living repositories of memory, culture, and survival knowledge. Among their stories lie hints of the lost city, tales passed down through generations, blending observation, legend, and warning. For those who listen carefully, the oral histories of the Sahara's nomads provide a map of memory, guiding seekers toward a civilization largely erased by time and sand. Nomadic narratives are often poetic, filled with metaphors and imagery that convey lessons as much as history. Elders speak of cities swallowed by sandstorms, of towers that once glimmered in the sun, and of markets where merchants traded exotic goods. They tell of sacred temples, secret vaults, and treasures hidden from the unworthy. Some accounts speak of divine punishment, suggesting that those who exploited the city's wealth met tragic ends. Others warn of the desert itself as a sentient force, capable of protecting the city, erasing intruders' paths, and revealing its secrets only to the patient and respectful. These stories, though filtered through generations, carry consistent details hinting at a civilization of immense sophistication and mystery. For explorers and historians, nomadic accounts are both invaluable and challenging. They provide clues about locations, environmental features, and even cultural practices, yet their metaphorical and symbolic nature requires careful interpretation. The desert is not merely a backdrop. It is a living actor in these narratives, shaping human experience and memory. Nomadic knowledge of seasonal winds, hidden wells, and shifting dunes often intersects with archaeological evidence, creating a tantalizing synergy between oral history and scientific inquiry. Listening to these stories is akin to reading a map written in language, rhythm, and caution, a code that rewards patience and insight. The nomads' role as guardians of memory is particularly significant. In a landscape that erases all evidence of human presence, oral traditions preserve the city's existence where physical traces have vanished. For generations, nomadic elders have passed down knowledge of ancient ruins, fragmented inscriptions, and buried artifacts, ensuring that the civilization is not entirely lost. These stories often contain moral, spiritual, and practical lessons, blending historical memory with cultural wisdom. They transform the search for the city from a simple excavation into an engagement with centuries of human experience, connecting modern seekers to those who once witnessed the city's presence firsthand. Nomadic stories also highlight the human stakes associated with the lost city. Many legends describe explorers, traders, or invaders who attempted to plunder the city's wealth and suffered dire consequences. Some disappeared without a trace. Others were said to return, transformed by the desert's trials or haunted by visions of its vanished grandeur. These accounts emphasize both the allure and danger of the city, reinforcing the notion that wealth and power come with responsibility, and that the desert is an active participant in the story. Every tale is a warning. The city cannot be claimed lightly, and its secrets are guarded fiercely by time, nature, and memory. The intersection of nomadic knowledge with historical records strengthens the case for a lost civilization. Travelers' accounts from medieval and early modern periods often correspond with oral histories, describing ruins, unusual structures, or trade routes in regions now buried beneath dunes. While some European and Arab records were incomplete or altered, the consistency with nomadic storytelling suggests that a core truth persisted across cultures and centuries. This convergence lends credibility to the idea that the lost city was real, even if its full extent and details remain elusive. Nomads' intimate understanding of the Sahara's geography also informs modern exploration. They can identify subtle features invisible to outsiders, patterns in the sand, depressions that indicate buried structures, or vegetation marking hidden water sources. Their guidance has been invaluable to archaeologists, enabling targeted surveys and excavations in areas where modern technology alone might fail. In this way, the nomads serve as both custodians and guides, bridging the gap between past and present, legend and discovery. The stories themselves are emotionally powerful, carrying the weight of generations. Elders recount events with passion, weaving suspense, moral lessons, and awe into every narrative. They describe the city as a place of wonder and danger, a testament to human ambition, ingenuity, and vulnerability. For listeners, these stories evoke both admiration for what was achieved and melancholy for what has been lost. They remind us that civilizations are fragile, that the environment shapes human destiny, and that memory can preserve what time and nature threaten to erase. The interplay of secrecy and revelation is central to nomadic narratives. Some tales deliberately obscure precise locations or details, teaching respect for the desert and the city it conceals. Others hint at the city's location through allegory, metaphor, or coded descriptions. This selective sharing of knowledge transforms the search for the lost city into a moral and intellectual journey, not merely a physical one. Success depends on patience, observation, and humility, echoing the values that enabled earlier civilizations to survive in the desert. Moreover, these oral traditions underscore the emotional dimension of the lost city. Beyond maps, ruins, and treasures, the city exists in the human imagination, a symbol of ambition, resilience, and mystery. It is a mirror reflecting our fascination with achievement, our fear of impermanence, and our desire to connect with those who came before. The Sahara, through its nomads, preserves not just the memory of the city, but its emotional resonance, making it a living story that continues to inspire and challenge every generation that dares to listen. In essence, nomads, stories, and secrets form an intricate web connecting past and present. Their narratives preserve fragments of history that might otherwise be lost, guiding explorers while embedding caution, respect, and understanding. Each tale is a thread, linking vanished streets, vanished people, and vanished knowledge to those willing to seek it. Through these stories, the lost city remains present in memory and imagination, reminding us that the Sahara is more than a desert. It is a custodian of history, a keeper of secrets, and a stage where human curiosity confronts both wonder and peril. Ultimately, engaging with nomadic stories transforms the search for the lost city into a holistic endeavor, combining archaeology, history, geography, and imagination. The city's legacy is preserved not only in fragments beneath the sand, but also in the memories and voices of those who have inhabited the desert for generations. Listening to these tales is an act of connection, a bridge across time, and a step closer to understanding a civilization lost to the sands yet alive in the whispers of its witnesses. Beneath the endless waves of the Sahara's dunes lies a world obscured, a realm where history sleeps under layers of sand and silence. Every grain, every drift, conceals secrets that could illuminate the lives of those who once inhabited the lost city. To the untrained eye, the desert appears featureless, monotonous, and unyielding. Yet for those who look closely, the sands reveal patterns, subtle depressions, and anomalies, hints of walls, streets, and structures swallowed over centuries. These mysteries are not just physical. They are temporal, cultural, and emotional, whispering of a civilization that defied one of Earth's harshest environments before vanishing almost entirely. The act of uncovering these mysteries is painstaking. Archaeologists must sift through layers of wind-shifted sand, interpreting fragments and irregularities in search of meaning. Tools, pottery shards, and remnants of stone walls serve as tangible threads connecting modern explorers to lives long vanished. Yet for every fragment recovered, countless others remain hidden, buried by centuries of windstorms and shifting dunes. This partial preservation challenges interpretation. A broken wall may indicate a home, a marketplace, or a ceremonial site. Every discovery is simultaneously illuminating and confounding, deepening the mystery rather than resolving it. Satellite imagery and remote sensing have revolutionized our ability to detect anomalies beneath the desert surface. Subtle variations in terrain, vegetation, and soil composition hint at structures concealed by centuries of sand. Lines suggesting streets, rectangles implying buildings, and clusters indicating settlements emerge in patterns too precise to be purely natural. These technological tools transform the Sahara from an opaque expanse into a layered archive, offering glimpses of human activity long erased by wind and time. Yet even with advanced technology, the desert guards its secrets, hiding the most revealing evidence in inaccessible or shifting locations. The mystery of the lost city extends beyond its physical remains. Artifacts and ruins hint at a sophisticated society capable of remarkable achievements. Evidence of advanced construction techniques, knowledge of water management, and artistic craftsmanship suggests that this civilization was more than a simple desert settlement. Yet the absence of written records, monumental inscriptions, or intact buildings keeps the story incomplete. The city's sophistication is inferred from fragments, forcing historians and explorers to reconstruct its history through deduction, imagination, and careful analysis. In this way, the desert transforms into both a library and a puzzle, where every shard holds potential insight and every anomaly provokes questions. Local legends often converge with these physical mysteries, providing complementary clues. Nomads speak of structures swallowed by dunes, of treasures hidden beneath the sand, and of pathways that appear and vanish with shifting winds. These stories, passed down orally over generations, are sometimes metaphorical but often correspond with the anomalies detected by modern technology. The intersection of legend and archaeology underscores the richness of the mysteries buried in sand. They're simultaneously tangible and ephemeral, real and imagined, a blend of human ingenuity, natural forces, and narrative tradition. The desert's concealment is not random. It is selective, preserving some artifacts while erasing others. Organic materials, such as wood, textiles, and foodstuffs, often decay rapidly, leaving only stone, pottery, and metal behind. Yet even these remnants are subject to abrasion, displacement, and burial by shifting sands. The partial preservation forces modern explorers to rely on small clues, piecing together a civilization from traces that survived environmental assault. Each discovery is a victory, illuminating lives, practices, and societies that might otherwise be forgotten entirely. The emotional weight of these buried mysteries is profound. Imagine the city at its height, streets bustling with traders, children playing in courtyards, artisans crafting tools and artworks, scholars recording knowledge, all eventually swallowed by sand. Each fragment unearthed carries a story of human life, ambition, and vulnerability. The desert transforms into a bridge across time, connecting modern observers with people whose names and faces are lost, but whose presence lingers in the smallest remnants. Excavation becomes an act of storytelling, reconstructing not only physical structures, but the human experiences they supported. The mysteries are amplified by the Sahara's scale. Unlike a confined archaeological site, the desert spreads endlessly, offering both opportunity and challenge. Potential ruins may be scattered across vast distances, connected by ancient trade routes or hidden along ephemeral riverbeds. The scope of exploration is daunting. Every dune could conceal a fragment of the city. Every shifting wind could obscure a clue discovered yesterday. This vastness magnifies the allure, creating a sense of adventure intertwined with the intellectual challenge of interpreting incomplete evidence. Beyond the physical and cultural mysteries lies a philosophical dimension. The lost city beneath the Sahara challenges our understanding of impermanence, resilience, and human ambition. How could a civilization thrive in such an inhospitable environment and then vanish so completely? What does its disappearance tell us about the fragility of human achievement, the power of nature, and the limits of memory? These questions deepen the emotional resonance of exploration, transforming the search from a quest for artifacts into a meditation on history, time, and the human condition. The desert's mysteries also foster creativity and imagination. Artists, writers, and filmmakers have drawn inspiration from tales of lost cities buried beneath shifting sands, envisioning societies of grandeur, innovation, and peril. These cultural interpretations, while fictionalized, reflect the enduring fascination with a civilization almost erased by time. They serve as reminders that mysteries buried in sand are not only archaeological puzzles, but also catalysts for human curiosity, storytelling, and wonder. Finally, the mysteries buried in sand compel a sense of humility. No matter how advanced our technology or how extensive our knowledge, the desert retains authority over its secrets. Explorers can uncover fragments, interpret anomalies, and follow clues, but the full story remains elusive. This tension between discovery and concealment defines the Sahara, transforming it into a living, breathing archive where the past is preserved selectively and where every grain of sand carries both a secret and a challenge. In sum, the mysteries buried in the Sahara are multifaceted. They are physical, cultural, emotional, and philosophical. They are simultaneously hidden and revealed, tangible and ephemeral, real and imagined. Each artifact, each pattern in the dunes, and each story passed down through generations serves as a fragment of a larger narrative, a civilization that flourished, achieved remarkable sophistication, and ultimately succumbed to forces both natural and human. The desert preserves enough to intrigue and inspire, but conceals enough to maintain its allure, ensuring that the lost city remains one of the most compelling enigmas in human history. Exploring these mysteries is more than an archaeological endeavor. It is a journey across time, imagination, and human ambition. The lost city is both a physical and symbolic landscape, representing human potential, the fragility of civilization, and the enduring power of nature. As the sands shift and reveal fragments, they invite us to engage with the past, interpret the present, and reflect on the impermanence of human endeavor. Every discovery is a reminder that the city was real, that it mattered, and that its secrets continue to whisper beneath the Sahara's vast, indifferent expanse. The lost city beneath the Sahara did not exist in isolation. It thrived within a network of ancient trade routes that crisscrossed the desert, connecting distant lands and peoples. Caravans, laden with salt, gold, ivory, and exotic goods, traversed these paths for centuries, following water sources, oases, and landmarks carefully memorized and passed down through generations. These routes were the arteries of commerce and culture, linking sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, and even parts of the Mediterranean. For the lost city, control over or proximity to these trade routes would have been a source of immense wealth, influence, and strategic importance, explaining the persistent allure of its treasures and secrets. Evidence of these routes emerges in historical texts, oral traditions, and scattered archaeological remains. Travelers' accounts describe regular stops at oases, fortified settlements, and bustling market hubs where goods changed hands. Pottery, tools, and luxury items found in remote desert locations hint at the movement of people and materials over vast distances. The lost city likely functioned as a hub along these routes, facilitating trade, cultural exchange, and political connections. Its disappearance would have disrupted networks, leaving echoes in both physical artifacts and the stories preserved by desert nomads. The geometry of the trade routes itself offers clues about the city's possible location. Routes often followed natural features, riverbeds, escarpments, and mountain foothills, while avoiding areas prone to shifting dunes or extreme isolation. By mapping known caravan paths and comparing them with satellite imagery and geological surveys, modern researchers can identify regions where a city might have thrived, hidden yet accessible to those who knew the desert. Alignments between ancient maps, oral histories, and natural features suggest that the lost city was strategically positioned, maximizing access to trade while minimizing exposure to environmental hazards. Trade was not merely economic. It was also cultural and intellectual. Merchants and travelers carried stories, religious beliefs, technologies, and innovations alongside tangible goods. The city, situated along these routes, likely absorbed diverse influences while projecting its own cultural identity outward. Artifacts such as distinctive pottery, tools, and ornamentation suggest a society capable of sophisticated craftsmanship and innovation, shaped by interaction with distant cultures. These trade networks also enabled the city to accumulate wealth, fostering legends of opulence that continue to capture imaginations centuries later. The dangers of navigating these routes further emphasize the city's resilience. The Sahara is unforgiving. Extreme temperatures, unpredictable sandstorms, and scarce water sources made every journey perilous. Caravans depended on knowledge of oases, wind patterns, and safe passage corridors. The city's inhabitants would have needed to coordinate logistics, maintain resources, and protect travelers and goods. Such capabilities indicate advanced social organization, governance, and strategic planning, reinforcing the idea that this was not a mere settlement, but a thriving, sophisticated civilization whose mastery of the desert was as remarkable as its material wealth. Disruptions in trade could have contributed to the city's decline. Climate shifts, river changes, or regional conflicts may have rerouted caravans, depriving the city of essential resources and economic stability. As trade diminished, so too may have the city's population and influence, leaving structures vulnerable to abandonment and eventual burial by sand. Understanding the interplay between trade networks and the city's fate offers insight into why a civilization capable of great achievements could disappear almost entirely, leaving only fragments for modern explorers to decipher. Nomadic knowledge again proves invaluable in tracing these ancient routes. Tribes that have traversed the desert for generations retain memory of paths, water sources, and historical stopovers. Their guidance has helped modern researchers correlate ruins, artifacts, and anomalies with likely caravan paths. Oral histories, when aligned with physical evidence, suggest that the lost city occupied a central node within these networks, strategically positioned to control trade flows and interact with a diverse array of cultures. The convergence of nomadic memory, historical records, and satellite data strengthens the case for the city's existence and guides ongoing exploration. The economic and cultural significance of trade routes also illuminates the legends surrounding the city. Stories of gold, exotic goods, and vast wealth are grounded not in fantasy alone, but in the city's role as a commercial hub. Control over trade implies access to wealth, political influence, and cultural prestige. The city's disappearance, therefore, would have reverberated across the Sahara, creating gaps in trade, memory, and legend that echo to this day. These routes serve as threads linking the lost city to broader regional histories, highlighting its impact even in absence. Modern technology has added precision to the study of trade networks. Remote sensing, GIS mapping, and satellite imagery reveal subtle traces of old caravan paths, including depressions, vegetation patterns, and soil variations indicative of repeated human passage. These findings, when cross-referenced with historical texts and oral traditions, help pinpoint areas where settlements, marketplaces, or hubs like the Lost City may have existed. Every clue extracted from the desert landscape brings researchers closer to reconstructing not only the city's physical layout, but its role in the larger economic and cultural system of the region. Ultimately, the ancient trade routes are more than logistical pathways. They are lifelines connecting past and present. They provide context for understanding the lost city's wealth, power, and significance, while framing its disappearance as part of a broader network of human activity shaped by environmental, economic, and cultural forces. The desert, once a barrier, becomes a canvas where patterns emerge, linking the stories, fragments, and legends that endure across centuries. Exploring these routes is as much a journey through human ambition as it is through sand and stone. Each path reflects calculated decisions, social organization, and interaction between humans and environment. The lost city's existence, influence, and eventual disappearance are intimately tied to these networks. Following these trails allows modern explorers to trace the pulse of a civilization long erased, piecing together clues from commerce, culture, and survival. The city beneath the Sahara may be hidden, yet the trade routes remain, etched subtly across the landscape, guiding those determined enough to interpret their secrets. Scattered across the Sahara, hidden beneath layers of shifting sand, lie the remnants of a civilization that once thrived. Ruins and relics, though fragmentary, offer glimpses into the city's structure, culture, and daily life. Foundations of stone walls hint at carefully planned streets and neighborhoods, while pottery shards suggest domestic routines and artisanal craftsmanship. Even the smallest fragments, decorative tiles, tools, or worn inscriptions, carry meaning, acting as tangible connections to people whose names and faces are otherwise lost to history. Each relic is a fragment of memory, a puzzle piece in reconstructing a civilization swallowed by the desert's vast expanse. Excavation in the Sahara is arduous, requiring patience, precision, and resilience. Wind shifts constantly cover and uncover evidence, making discovery fleeting and preservation a challenge. Archaeologists often rely on subtle cues, depressions in the sand, irregularities in terrain, or unexpected concentrations of artifacts. Unearthing a single wall or a fragment of pottery can illuminate an entire aspect of life in the city, revealing domestic patterns, trade connections, or social hierarchies. These relics, though incomplete, serve as anchors for imagination, allowing researchers to reconstruct scenes of bustling markets, religious ceremonies, and the rhythms of daily life. Among the most revealing relics are architectural fragments. Carved stone blocks, pillars, and foundation layouts indicate advanced engineering and urban planning. Streets appear to have been systematically organized, with spaces allocated for residential, commercial, and ceremonial functions. Some structures suggest communal spaces or marketplaces, pointing to a society structured around both social cohesion and economic activity. The craftsmanship evident in these fragments reflects a culture with technical knowledge, artistic sensibility, and attention to detail, qualities that hint at the sophistication of the broader civilization now largely hidden beneath sand. Pottery and tools provide equally vital insights. Fragments of pottery reveal information about diet, trade, and domestic habits. Some pieces bear decorations or markings indicative of cultural identity, ritual practice, or aesthetic sensibility. Tools, ranging from basic implements to specialized items, suggest artisanal skills, craftsmanship, and technological innovation. Even broken or worn artifacts carry stories of human activity. Hands that shaped clay, eyes that painted designs, labor that sustained daily life. Each relic becomes a silent witness to existence, offering a narrative where written records are absent. Metal artifacts, though rarer due to corrosion, also shed light on the city's capabilities. Weapons, jewelry, and tools suggest not only practical utility, but also wealth, status, and symbolic meaning. Gold, silver, and bronze fragments hint at trade, social hierarchy, and artistic expression. These items, preserved against the odds by burial beneath the sand, provide evidence of both the city's material prosperity and its cultural values. They reinforce legends of wealth and grandeur, linking tangible evidence with stories that have persisted across centuries. Inscriptions, even fragmentary ones, are particularly compelling. Though often eroded or incomplete, they offer glimpses into language, communication, and record-keeping. Some inscriptions may denote ownership, religious devotion, or civic function, providing context for both daily life and governance. They hint at a society that valued knowledge, ritual, and documentation, a civilization aware of its achievements and keen to leave traces for future generations. Even where the script remains undeciphered, the act of inscription itself reflects intention, permanence, and a desire for legacy. Relics are also contextual. Their placement, proximity, and relation to one another help reconstruct the city's layout and function. Tools found near foundations may indicate workshops. Pottery concentrated in certain areas may point to kitchens or markets. The spatial distribution of artifacts allows researchers to infer social patterns, economic networks, and even religious practices. Each fragment gains significance not merely as an object, but as part of a broader tapestry of human life, echoing stories of a society meticulously organized and culturally rich. Environmental evidence further enhances understanding. Soil samples, plant remains, and traces of irrigation reveal how inhabitants adapted to the Sahara's harsh conditions. Analysis of such evidence indicates agricultural practices, water management strategies, and the use of natural resources. These findings underscore the ingenuity and resilience of a civilization that flourished in an environment where survival required exceptional skill and knowledge. Relics, when combined with environmental data, provide a holistic view of life in the city, illuminating how human creativity met the challenges of one of the planet's most unforgiving landscapes. The emotional resonance of ruins and relics is profound. Holding a shard of pottery, examining a worn tool, or tracing the outline of a buried wall creates a tangible connection across time. Each fragment embodies human effort, ambition, and daily experience, bridging centuries and offering insight into lives that would otherwise be forgotten. These artifacts invite reflection on the impermanence of human achievement, the persistence of memory, and the ways in which civilizations leave traces long after their disappearance. Even incomplete relics fuel imagination. Archaeologists and historians reconstruct scenes from minimal evidence, envisioning bustling streets, ceremonial gatherings, and domestic routines. Each discovery inspires new hypotheses and theories about social organization, culture, and technology. The gaps in evidence are as significant as the fragments themselves, prompting speculation, debate, and continued exploration. In this sense, relics are both evidence and invitation. They tell a story while leaving space for imagination, encouraging engagement with a civilization lost but not entirely forgotten. Importantly, the scattered nature of relics emphasizes the fragility of human legacy. The Sahara has claimed most of the city's physical remains, leaving only traces for those willing to search, analyze, and interpret. This fragility enhances the sense of wonder surrounding each artifact. What survives is precious precisely because so much has been lost. The ruins and relics remind us that civilization is both transient and enduring. Transient in its physical form, enduring in its impact on imagination, history, and culture. Finally, the study of ruins and relics transforms the desert itself into a repository of memory. The sands, once considered a blank expanse, become a living archive, preserving fragments of human ingenuity, resilience, and creativity. Every excavation, every discovery, every analysis brings us closer to understanding a civilization that vanished under the Sahara's relentless forces. The lost city may remain hidden in full, but through its ruins and relics, it speaks across time, connecting past and present, reality and legend, silence and discovery. The fragments of the lost city beneath the Sahara are more than objects. They are vessels of history, emotion, and imagination. Each shard, tool, or foundation fragment carries the weight of lives lived, decisions made, and societies built. Together, they form a mosaic of a civilization once vibrant and powerful, now obscured yet persistently present in the desert's memory. By studying these relics, we not only uncover the city's secrets, but also confront timeless truths about human ambition, fragility, and the relentless passage of time. In the Sahara, water is life, and scarcity can determine the fate of civilizations. For the lost city beneath the dunes, access to water would have been critical, shaping everything from urban planning to agriculture, trade, and social organization. Oases, underground aquifers, and ephemeral rivers offered lifelines, but they were limited, shifting, and unpredictable. The city's survival depended on ingenuity, foresight, and a profound understanding of the desert's hydrology. Wells, cisterns, and channels may have been constructed to capture and store water, reflecting a civilization intimately attuned to its environment and capable of adapting to extreme conditions. Archaeological evidence suggests sophisticated water management. Stone-lined wells, remnants of channels, and traces of reservoirs indicate planning and engineering designed to maximize the collection and distribution of scarce water resources. Such infrastructure implies not only technical knowledge, but also social organization, with labor and maintenance coordinated over time. Control over water would have conferred power, allowing leaders to sustain populations, manage agriculture, and regulate trade routes that depended on reliable hydration points. In this way, water was both a practical necessity and a source of authority, binding survival to governance and societal cohesion. Trade networks, too, were inseparable from water. Caravans relied on oases and predictable water sources, and cities along these routes thrived or faltered depending on accessibility. The lost city's prosperity may have been closely tied to its strategic position relative to these vital resources, allowing it to act as a hub for commerce while supporting its population. Conversely, shifts in water availability, whether from climatic change, natural disasters, or environmental mismanagement, could have undermined trade, agriculture, and urban stability, setting the stage for decline. Water was not merely life. It was the linchpin of economic and political stability. Environmental changes in the Sahara may have contributed to the city's collapse. Evidence from climate studies indicates that the region underwent significant aridification over centuries, with rainfall patterns becoming increasingly erratic and desertification expanding across once fertile areas. For a city dependent on predictable water sources, even small fluctuations could have had dramatic consequences. Reduced water availability would have stressed agriculture, limited trade, and provoked social unrest, potentially leading inhabitants to abandon the city or fragment into smaller, more mobile groups. Water scarcity, in combination with other pressures, may explain why such a sophisticated civilization could vanish almost entirely. The role of water extends beyond survival to cultural and spiritual dimensions. In many desert societies, water holds symbolic meaning, representing life, purity, and divine favor. The lost city may have incorporated this reverence into rituals, temples, or civic planning, linking physical survival with cultural identity. Sacred wells, ceremonial pools, or ritualized collection of water could have reinforced social cohesion, imbued everyday life with spiritual significance, and reflected the civilization's understanding of its precarious existence in the desert. These practices underscore the deep connection between natural resources and human values, revealing how environmental necessity shapes culture as much as economy. Nomadic knowledge again provides critical insight. Tribes traversing the desert for generations possess intimate awareness of water sources, seasonal changes, and subtle terrain indicators that reveal hidden aquifers or buried channels. Their understanding complements archaeological and geological studies, guiding modern researchers to locations that might otherwise remain concealed. Oral histories often reference vanished rivers, dried-up lakes, and lost wells, suggesting that water scarcity and shifting landscapes played a key role in the city's history. Listening to these narratives allows scholars to reconstruct environmental conditions and understand how the city's inhabitants adapted or failed to adapt to changing circumstances. The fragility of water resources highlights human vulnerability. Even with advanced knowledge and engineering, societies remain at the mercy of nature's rhythms. The lost city's dependence on limited water sources made it resilient yet inherently fragile. Success was contingent on balance, and imbalance could be catastrophic. This dynamic mirrors broader lessons about human civilization. Ingenuity and ambition can achieve remarkable feats, but survival ultimately hinges on the environment's constraints and unpredictability. Water, a fundamental resource, becomes both a symbol and determinant of human fate. Archaeological remnants of irrigation and water storage also provide clues about population size and urban density. The scale and sophistication of water infrastructure suggest that the city could support a substantial population, engage in agriculture, and maintain trade networks. Reservoirs and channels may have been interconnected, reflecting a centralized planning system capable of coordinating labor, distribution, and maintenance over decades. Such evidence points to a civilization that was not only technologically capable but socially organized, with governance and civic responsibility closely linked to survival. The disappearance of water sources would have triggered cascading effects. Agriculture would fail, reducing food availability and trade goods. Social hierarchies could fracture under stress. Migrations or abandonment might become necessary, and previously flourishing areas could be reclaimed by sand. Even a brief period of drought could have initiated a chain reaction, destabilizing the city and making permanent disappearance possible. Water scarcity explains how a civilization so advanced, wealthy, and strategically positioned could ultimately vanish beneath the Sahara's relentless environment. The emotional and philosophical resonance of water scarcity is profound. For modern explorers and historians, remnants of wells, cisterns, and channels are tangible reminders of human ingenuity and vulnerability. They evoke awe at the civilization's ability to adapt, fear at the precariousness of life in extreme environments, and curiosity about the choices and challenges faced by the city's inhabitants. Water, invisible in its essence yet indispensable in impact, becomes a central character in the story of a lost city, shaping destiny as decisively as any human hand. Ultimately, the role of water underscores the interplay between nature and civilization. It reveals how survival, prosperity, and decline are intertwined with environmental stewardship and adaptation. The lost city beneath the Sahara was a testament to human ingenuity, thriving against immense odds by mastering its environment. Yet the very element that sustained it also dictated its limits. As the desert claimed the city, water scarcity, unpredictability, and centrality to life became both a symbol and a mechanism of impermanence. A stark reminder that even the most remarkable civilizations remain subject to nature's unforgiving rhythms. The story of water in the Sahara is a story of survival, innovation, and collapse. It illuminates the forces that shaped the lost city's rise and decline, offering insight into human resilience, ambition, and vulnerability. By studying these patterns, modern explorers not only uncover the practical realities of desert life, but also engage with the emotional and symbolic dimensions of human dependence on nature. The lost city's legacy, preserved in fragments of walls, channels, and wells, whispers across time, reminding us that life, power, and civilization hinge on the simplest yet most profound resource: water. The Sahara is more than a vast expanse of sand. It is a silent sentinel, guarding secrets for centuries. Its relentless sun, shifting dunes, and merciless winds create a landscape that challenges human presence and erases evidence of those who once dared to build civilizations within its bounds. The lost city beneath its sands owes its preservation and its mystery to this formidable environment. While time, wind, and sun have destroyed many traces, the desert has also acted as a protective veil, concealing the city from looters, casual observers, and even the passage of centuries. In its silence, the Sahara maintains the city as a mystery, a treasure hidden in plain view, yet nearly impossible to access without knowledge, patience, and courage. The desert's role as guardian is paradoxical. On one hand, it erases, buries, and disguises evidence, complicating the work of historians, archaeologists, and explorers. Sandstorms can sweep away artifacts, dunes can shift over ruins, and erosion can dissolve fragile structures. A city that once bustled with life now exists only as fragmented foundations and scattered relics, often revealed fleetingly before being swallowed again by sand. On the other hand, this concealment has shielded what remains from complete destruction or plunder. Unlike ruins exposed to centuries of human exploitation, the buried city has retained fragments of its structures, artifacts, and traces of its urban plan, preserved in a delicate balance between loss and protection. The desert exerts authority over time itself. Its conditions dictate the pace and success of exploration, forcing those who seek the city to adapt, respect its rhythms, and endure hardship. Survival depends on understanding wind patterns, seasonal changes, and a location of hidden water sources. Nomads who have traversed these sands for generations possess an intimate knowledge that turns the desert from a hostile expanse into a guide. Their guidance highlights the desert's dual role as both guardian and teacher, rewarding those who approach it with humility and skill, while punishing those who underestimate its power. Geographical concealment is one of the Sahara's most effective defenses. Rolling dunes can bury entire structures within weeks or months, altering the landscape and erasing recognizable features. Rocks, gravel beds, and depressions are often mistaken for natural formations, hiding walls, streets, and ceremonial spaces from the untrained eye. This dynamic environment transforms archaeology into a race against time, where discovery is fleeting and incomplete. Each exposed fragment may vanish beneath shifting sands, leaving researchers with tantalizing glimpses of the city's former grandeur while reinforcing the desert's dominance over memory and history. The desert's harshness has shaped human adaptation. Inhabitants of the lost city would have had to account for extremes of temperature, sandstorms, and scarce resources in every aspect of daily life. Urban planning, building techniques, and water management systems were all likely designed to contend with environmental challenges. The architecture may have minimized exposure to wind, optimized shade, and incorporated materials resilient to the desert's assault. Even trade, travel, and social organization were influenced by the need to respect and adapt to the desert's power. In this way, the Sahara was not merely a backdrop, but an active participant in shaping the city's civilization. The guardian role of the desert extends to myth and imagination. Stories of cities swallowed by sand, treasures hidden beneath dunes, and mysterious ruins are pervasive in local and regional folklore. These tales, often passed down through generations of nomads and travelers, reinforce the perception of the Sahara as a living entity capable of concealing and protecting its secrets. Such legends may contain kernels of truth, pointing to real ruins or relics, yet they are also amplified by the desert's scale and danger, inspiring awe, fear, and curiosity. The desert becomes a narrative force, mediating human interaction with history and memory. Environmental factors reinforce the desert's protective nature. Extreme heat, scarce water, and violent storms make prolonged excavation difficult and hazardous. Remote areas are often inaccessible, further safeguarding buried structures. Even modern technology, while capable of revealing hidden anomalies, cannot fully penetrate the desert's dynamic surface, where dunes shift and erode constantly. This natural defense ensures that the city's remnants remain largely intact, waiting for explorers to decode patterns, interpret fragments, and reconstruct histories under conditions that demand patience, resilience, and respect. The desert's guardianship also imparts lessons about impermanence and human ambition. The city's disappearance reminds us that even advanced civilizations can be erased when confronted with the forces of nature. Wind, sand, and sun act as impartial arbiters, indifferent to human achievement, yet preserving fragments for those who can endure the challenge of discovery. In this sense, the Sahara teaches humility, illustrating that human ingenuity and ambition, while remarkable, exist within a broader system governed by environmental realities. From a historical perspective, the desert has shielded the city from many of the ravages of human conflict. Wars, looting, and deliberate destruction have affected countless civilizations, yet the buried city has largely escaped such direct interference. Its concealment beneath shifting sands has preserved traces that might otherwise have been lost to human greed or neglect. This dual role, as both destroyer and protector, makes the Sahara unique among archaeological landscapes, creating an environment where mystery thrives alongside remnants of reality. The emotional resonance of the desert as guardian is profound. For explorers, each revealed fragment, each partial wall, or fleeting trace of pottery represents a dialogue across time, mediated by sand and wind. The desert's silence allows the city to speak indirectly through fragments and shadows, demanding engagement, interpretation, and reverence. This relationship transforms exploration into an immersive experience, where discovery is not merely intellectual but also emotional, connecting present-day seekers with a civilization that once lived, thrived, and eventually disappeared beneath the sands. Even the randomness of exposure, how a sandstorm might uncover or bury evidence, adds to the city's mystique. Archaeologists may find an artifact one season only to see it disappear the next, emphasizing the delicate balance between revelation and concealment. This unpredictability intensifies the allure, turning each expedition into a suspenseful pursuit, where the desert itself is both guide and obstacle, teacher and test. The sands demand respect, patience, and ingenuity, reinforcing the city's status as a hidden jewel preserved by one of the harshest environments on Earth. In summary, the desert as guardian is both literal and symbolic. It conceals, protects, and shapes the lost city, ensuring that the civilization endures in fragments, echoes, and legends rather than complete destruction. Its relentless forces challenge explorers while preserving history, creating a dynamic interplay between human ambition and environmental mastery. The Sahara's sands hold secrets that are simultaneously fragile and enduring, requiring curiosity, perseverance, and respect to uncover. The city's legacy is intertwined with the desert itself, emphasizing the profound role of nature in preserving and mediating memory, history, and imagination. The Sahara remains a sentinel, guarding a civilization almost erased, yet still whispering through its relics, stories, and shifting dunes. It is both adversary and protector, erasing evidence while safeguarding fragments that allow modern generations to reconstruct a city that once defied the desert's extremes. By understanding the desert as guardian, we begin to see the lost city not merely as ruins beneath sand, but as a living enigma, preserved and interpreted through time, memory, and the patient interplay between humans and nature. Among the fragments and ruins of the lost city, art and symbolism emerge as powerful testaments to human creativity, belief, and identity. Even buried beneath the Sahara's shifting sands, these traces reveal a civilization that valued expression, communication, and cultural memory. Pottery adorned with intricate patterns, carved stones depicting enigmatic motifs, and decorative artifacts hint at aesthetic sensibilities, social structure, and spiritual life. The presence of art transforms our understanding of the city. It was not merely a functional settlement, but a society that sought meaning, conveyed values, and celebrated identity through symbolic forms. Artifacts suggest that the city's inhabitants used symbolism to convey ideas, beliefs, and social hierarchies. Recurrent motifs, geometric designs, and depictions of animals may have represented spiritual concepts, territorial markers, or status indicators. Murals or carvings, now eroded but hinted at through fragments, likely communicated stories of creation, migration, trade, and conquest. Each symbol is a thread connecting viewers across time, offering glimpses into the worldview, mythology, and intellectual life of a people who lived in harmony and tension with the desert environment surrounding them. Religious and ritual symbolism is particularly compelling. Certain artifacts, including figurines, ceremonial objects, and altar fragments, imply practices of devotion, offerings, or rites designed to secure protection, fertility, or prosperity. Symbolism in such contexts may have served as a conduit between the human and divine, linking everyday life to cosmic forces. The deliberate placement of symbolic items within structures or sacred spaces suggests careful planning and reverence, highlighting the intersection of practical survival and spiritual aspiration. The desert, as a harsh, and unpredictable environment may have intensified the city's focus on symbolic and ritual expression, reinforcing a sense of control, protection, and cultural continuity. Art also reflects social stratification and identity. Jewelry, ornamentation, and specialized decorative artifacts suggest the presence of hierarchical structures and the display of status. Materials such as gold, bronze, and colored pigments, carefully crafted into intricate forms, indicate both wealth and artistic skill. The existence of such artifacts points to a society with differentiated roles, labor specialization, and value systems that elevated certain members through visual and material markers. Each piece of art carries the imprint of human intention, revealing cultural priorities and personal or communal identity within the broader context of urban life. Symbolism extends to architecture as well. Structural design, layout, and decorative elements may have incorporated symbolic meaning, from alignment with celestial patterns to the use of particular shapes or motifs in public and sacred spaces. Temples, plazas, and residences likely conveyed status, function, and belief systems through spatial organization and ornamentation. Such symbolic architecture communicates messages to inhabitants and visitors alike, reinforcing social cohesion, spiritual understanding, and civic pride. The city's design, therefore, was not only functional but also deeply expressive, embedding meaning in both form and content. Interpretation of these artistic and symbolic fragments is challenging yet revealing. Erosion, sand burial, and incomplete excavation obscure full understanding, leaving researchers to reconstruct meanings through comparison, context, and cross-cultural analysis. While much remains speculative, patterns across different artifacts suggest continuity and intention, pointing to shared cultural frameworks. The recurrence of certain symbols across objects and locations within the city implies deliberate messaging, emphasizing themes important to the civilization's identity, worldview, and societal organization. The emotional impact of encountering these artistic traces is profound. Even fragmentary pottery, carved stones, or decorative items evoke wonder, curiosity, and connection. They allow modern observers to engage with a lost city's human dimension, to imagine artisans at work, communities interpreting myths, and individuals asserting identity through material culture. Art transforms ruins from inert fragments into vessels of expression, storytelling, and emotional resonance, bridging the gap between past and present. Art and symbolism also intersect with trade and cultural exchange. Patterns, motifs, and techniques may reflect influences from neighboring regions, suggesting contact, communication, and assimilation of ideas. Imported materials or stylistic features indicate that the city participated in wider networks of exchange, not only in goods, but also in culture and knowledge. These artifacts offer a glimpse into how the lost city interacted with the broader world, adapting and integrating external influences while maintaining distinctive local identity. Furthermore, symbolic elements often carry cautionary or protective messages. Certain designs, recurring patterns, or ritual objects may have served as warnings, talismans, or reminders of societal norms. In a harsh environment like the Sahara, symbolism could function as both cultural guidance and spiritual safeguard, embedding communal knowledge, survival wisdom, and ethical frameworks into tangible forms. Art, therefore, was not solely aesthetic. It was practical, communicative, and protective, shaping the city's social and spiritual fabric. Ultimately, the evidence of art and symbolism deepens the emotional and intellectual engagement with the lost city. It reveals a civilization capable of abstract thought, aesthetic expression, and cultural continuity, even under extreme environmental pressures. Through these fragments, we glimpse the humanity of a society long vanished, encountering their beliefs, creativity, and values encoded in material form. Art becomes a bridge across millennia, a language that communicates emotion, aspiration, and identity where words have been lost. In essence, the city's artistic and symbolic remnants demonstrate that it was alive with culture, intellect, and imagination. Each fragment recovered from the sands is a story, a message, or a reflection of human experience. Together, they offer a portrait of a society that thrived in adversity, expressed meaning through objects and spaces, and sought to endure through symbols that transcended time. The Sahara may have hidden the city physically, but its art and symbolism preserve its soul, whispering to us across the centuries and inviting both understanding and wonder. Stories of the lost city's wealth have endured for centuries, whispered across dunes, passed along caravan routes, and preserved in local folklore. Gold, silver, precious stones, and exotic goods are said to have adorned the city, hinting at prosperity beyond imagination. Traders' tales of opulent markets, heavily guarded treasures, and elaborate palaces fueled legends that blurred the line between reality and myth. These accounts, while sometimes exaggerated, are rooted in tangible evidence. Fragments of jewelry, metalwork, and artifacts recovered from the Sahara indicate a society capable of producing and acquiring wealth on an impressive scale. The city's prosperity was likely tied to its strategic position along ancient trade routes. Control over commerce brought economic power, social influence, and the ability to attract skilled artisans and merchants. Caravans carrying salt, ivory, gold, and exotic goods passed through or near the city, creating opportunities for taxation, trade, and accumulation of surplus wealth. Such economic centrality would have reinforced hierarchical structures, enabling rulers or elites to display power through architecture, ceremonial artifacts, and luxury items. Wealth became a visible marker of status and authority, symbolizing both achievement and control over the harsh desert environment. Legends often emphasize opulence, imagining treasure-laden streets and grand palaces sparkling under the Saharan sun. While hyperbolic, these stories are grounded in plausible social and economic structures. Archaeological evidence, such as foundations suggesting monumental buildings, imported materials, and sophisticated craftsmanship, supports the idea of a society that could sustain wealth and display it publicly. The interplay of legend and material evidence creates a compelling narrative, a civilization of power, sophistication, and ambition, whose physical and economic footprint reached beyond what the desert now reveals. The allure of wealth also influenced perception and exploration. For centuries, travelers and adventurers sought signs of the city, driven by tales of riches hidden beneath the sand. Motivations ranged from scholarly curiosity to outright greed, blending human desire with the desert's mystery. Some discoveries, like fragments of gold or ornamental objects, reinforced legends, while failures and fruitless expeditions magnified the city's mystique. The Sahara itself became a stage for human ambition, where pursuit of wealth was inseparable from risk, endurance, and discovery. Political power within the city likely intertwined with wealth. Rulers or elites who controlled resources could organize labor, maintain infrastructure, and enforce social order. Palaces, administrative buildings, and ceremonial centers, indicated through partial foundations and relics, suggest governance structures capable of managing both prosperity and population. Wealth was not merely material. It enabled strategic planning, social cohesion, and cultural development. This connection between economic power and societal function underscores the sophistication of the civilization and the scale of its potential influence across the desert region. Artifacts also reflect the symbolic dimension of wealth. Jewelry, ornamented tools, and ceremonial items carried messages of status, authority, and cultural identity. Precious metals and imported materials signified connections to distant lands, reinforcing social hierarchies and enhancing the city's prestige. Symbolism in artifacts shows that wealth was intertwined with perception, culture, and belief, shaping both how the city's inhabitants saw themselves and how outsiders perceived them. The presence of such objects underscores that the lost city was not merely surviving in the desert, but asserting identity, power, and legacy through tangible displays of prosperity. Legends of wealth are amplified by the mystery of disappearance. A city so rich vanishing beneath the Sahara evokes fascination, envy, and speculation. How could a civilization capable of producing, acquiring, and safeguarding wealth be erased so thoroughly? This paradox fuels enduring curiosity and a sense of suspense, blending history with imagination. The tension between evidence and legend elevates the city's story from mere archaeology to an epic narrative of ambition, risk, and eventual disappearance. Wealth, in this context, becomes both a historical reality and a narrative device, emphasizing human aspiration and the desert's transformative power. Economic networks further illuminate the city's prominence. Trade routes connecting sub-Saharan Africa, the Mediterranean, and neighboring regions enabled the movement of valuable goods, facilitating both wealth accumulation and cultural exchange. Artifacts, such as imported pottery, rare metals, and stylistically diverse tools, suggest that the city participated actively in regional commerce. This integration into broader networks not only brought material prosperity, but also reinforced political influence, social sophistication, and exposure to ideas and technologies beyond the desert, cementing its status as a hub of wealth and power. The legend of wealth also carries cautionary undertones. Prosperity may have attracted rivals, provoked envy, or created vulnerabilities. Competition for resources, internal inequality, or over-reliance on trade networks could have contributed to social strain, political instability, or decline. Stories of treasure lost beneath shifting sands hint at the fragility of material abundance, emphasizing the impermanence of power and the desert's ultimate authority. The city's disappearance transforms legends of wealth into narratives about human ambition, risk, and the transience of worldly success. Emotional resonance is a critical aspect of these legends. The idea of vast wealth evokes awe, desire, and curiosity, drawing modern observers into the Sahara's mystery. Artifacts recovered from the desert, ornamental items, tools, fragments of precious metals, serve as tangible proof that these stories are not entirely myth. Encountering these relics evokes a connection with human aspiration across time, bridging centuries and providing insight into both achievement and vulnerability. The lost city's wealth, real and imagined, becomes a lens through which we understand its people, culture, and ultimate fate. Finally, legends of wealth and power highlight the interplay between reality, imagination, and human ambition. They remind us that history is not only constructed from artifacts and ruins, but also from stories, perception, and the desire to uncover the extraordinary. The lost city beneath the Sahara remains a site of fascination precisely because material evidence and legend intertwine, creating a narrative that is both historical and mythic. Its riches, both tangible and symbolic, reinforced the city's significance, shaping exploration, imagination, and understanding for generations. In essence, the city's wealth and power were multifaceted: economic, political, social, and symbolic. Legends, grounded in fragments and relics, amplify these realities, emphasizing human ingenuity, ambition, and a capacity to thrive even in the harshest environments. The Sahara, relentless and indifferent, conceals the city, yet preserves hints of its grandeur. Wealth, both material and symbolic, continues to captivate imagination, reminding us of human aspiration, the desert's authority, and the enduring allure of a civilization nearly lost to time but impossible to forget. Beneath the sands of the Sahara, subtle evidence hints at a civilization that may have met an abrupt and dramatic end. Unlike societies that fade slowly, leaving layered traces of gradual change, the lost city shows signs of sudden disruption. Foundations abruptly abandoned, tools left in place, and unfinished structure suggest that inhabitants departed or perished with little warning. Such indicators raise compelling questions. What force or combination of circumstances could have dismantled a thriving, wealthy, and strategically positioned city so swiftly and decisively? Archaeological patterns point to environmental stress as a likely catalyst. Water scarcity, intensified by shifting climate and desertification, could have disrupted agriculture, trade, and daily survival almost overnight. Reservoirs, cisterns, and wells, once meticulously maintained, may have dried or become unreliable, forcing inhabitants to abandon the city or fragment into smaller, mobile groups. The fragility of desert water systems meant that even temporary shortages could have cascading effects, unraveling social and economic structures that depended on regular access to hydration. Evidence of fires, collapsed buildings, and eroded fortifications suggest that sudden violence or conflict may have compounded environmental pressures. External threats, raiders, rival city-states, or internal upheaval could have exploited weakened defenses, accelerating decline. The presence of abandoned weaponry and hastily concealed valuables hints at urgency and panic, moments frozen in time as if the city's inhabitants fled under duress. The combination of environmental stress and social instability paints a picture of a society overwhelmed by forces it could not fully control, despite previous ingenuity and resourcefulness. Trade disruptions may have further exacerbated decline. The city's wealth and stability depended on caravan routes and the movement of goods. Sudden shifts in trade networks, caused by regional conflicts, changing political alliances, or environmental obstacles, would have cut off vital resources. Scarcity of food, raw materials, or luxury items could have eroded both economic security and social cohesion. Without trade, elite power structures and common survival alike would be threatened, creating internal tension and possibly prompting mass exodus or abandonment. Archaeologists have noted an unusual concentration of artifacts left in situ, suggesting rapid departure. Pottery, tools, and personal items were found in locations indicating interrupted daily routines. Meals half prepared, tools mid-use, and living spaces abandoned without care. Such evidence implies that departure was not gradual but forced or unplanned. These patterns are consistent with sudden environmental catastrophe, external threat, or political upheaval, emphasizing that whatever ended the city's prosperity did so abruptly, leaving little time for systematic preservation or evacuation. The desert itself may have played a silent role in the city's swift disappearance. Shifting sands could have buried streets, homes, and structures rapidly, hiding evidence and accelerating the sense of disappearance. Sandstorms, erosion, and dune migration act as both erasers and preservers, obliterating fragile traces while protecting remnants of walls, artifacts, and inscriptions beneath layers of sediment. In this way, the environment contributed both to the physical decline and the enduring mystery of the city, making sudden abandonment appear even more dramatic and enigmatic. Signs of social disruption are also evident. Settlement patterns suggest that families or groups may have dispersed suddenly, leaving behind communal areas or civic structures untouched. Ritual or ceremonial spaces show incomplete activity, as if scheduled events were interrupted. Such patterns indicate that the city's decline was not merely an economic or environmental phenomenon, but a comprehensive societal collapse affecting governance, culture, and daily life. The human dimension of this rapid decline adds poignancy, reminding us that the city's disappearance involved real lives abruptly disrupted by forces beyond control. Climate studies reinforce the theory of sudden decline. Data on historical rainfall, temperature shifts, and desert expansion suggest periods of rapid environmental change capable of destabilizing societies. A prolonged drought, intensified sandstorms, or a sudden change in watercourses could have rendered survival untenable. The timing of these shifts aligns with evidence from ruins, suggesting that the city's collapse coincided with environmental stressors severe enough to precipitate mass abandonment. Understanding these dynamics underscores the interplay between human resilience and nature's unpredictability, highlighting both ingenuity and vulnerability. The psychological impact of sudden decline cannot be underestimated. For the city's inhabitants, rapid environmental or social upheaval would have created fear, uncertainty, and dislocation. Panic, urgent decision-making, and flight would explain the presence of unfinished structures, hastily abandoned tools, and personal belongings left behind. These physical traces transform abstract history into a human story of desperation and survival instinct, offering an emotional lens through which modern observers can connect with those who face the city's final days. Finally, sudden decline heightens the city's enduring mystery and allure. The idea of a thriving, wealthy, and sophisticated civilization disappearing almost instantaneously captivates imagination, blending archaeology with legend. Evidence of rapid abandonment intensifies curiosity, drawing researchers and explorers to reconstruct events, speculate about causes, and piece together narratives from fragments. The city's sudden disappearance underlines both the power of natural forces and the vulnerability of human societies, reminding us that even extraordinary ingenuity and wealth can be fleeting when confronted with relentless environmental, social, and political pressures. In summary, the signs of sudden decline, abandoned structures, disrupted routines, environmental stress, trade collapse, and possible conflict converge to tell a story of abrupt loss. The lost city's disappearance was likely accelerated by a combination of factors, each compounding the other, resulting in a swift and dramatic vanishing beneath the Sahara sands. These patterns emphasize the fragility of human civilization, the influence of environmental forces, and the enduring enigma of a city that once flourished yet now survives only in fragments, legend, and the imagination of those who dare to search for it. Among the ruins and relics of the lost city, inscriptions offer tantalizing glimpses into communication, culture, and thought, though much remains undeciphered. Carved on stone slabs, pottery fragments, and architectural elements, these symbols hint at a language once vibrant, complex, and integral to daily life. Unlike the ruins themselves, which tells stories through physical presence. Inscriptions act as direct voices from the past, speaking across centuries to convey ownership, ritual, governance, or perhaps even personal expression. Each fragment challenges scholars to reconstruct a system of communication, suggesting that literacy and symbolic understanding were central to the city's identity. The variety of inscriptions indicates multiple functions. Some appear formal, possibly linked to administration, record-keeping, or religious observance. Others seem decorative or commemorative, embedded in architecture or ceremonial artifacts. Recurrent symbols may denote status, profession, or affiliation, while isolated characters could represent names or events. The coexistence of functional, ceremonial, and artistic inscriptions suggests a society that integrated language into both practical and symbolic aspects of life, reflecting sophistication and cultural nuance. Deciphering these inscriptions is difficult, complicated by erosion, incomplete sequences, and lack of comparative material. Yet even partial understanding provides insight. Repeated motifs hint at structured grammar or codified symbols, while positioning within settlements suggests intended audiences, messages for officials, worshippers, or the general population. Inscriptions are not mere decoration. They encode meaning, guidance, and history, revealing how the inhabitants interacted with each other and their environment. Through these marks, we glimpse administrative structures, religious priorities, and societal values. Some inscriptions suggest religious or ritual significance. Symbols carved on altars, temple fragments, or ceremonial vessels indicate invocations, offerings, or dedications. Such marks may have been intended to secure divine favor, commemorate sacred events, or instruct ritual participants. The desert environment, harsh and unpredictable, likely heightened the importance of such inscriptions, linking spiritual protection to survival. Written language, in this sense, was both practical and sacred, bridging human action with divine oversight and creating a permanent record of intention in a transient world. Other inscriptions hint at governance, trade, or civic organization. Symbols denoting ownership, measurements, or transactions suggest structured economic and administrative systems. These marks demonstrate that the city was not merely a collection of dwellings, but a functioning urban center, with rules, hierarchies, and mechanisms for managing resources, labor, and interaction. Even fragmentary, these inscriptions validate the city's sophistication, indicating organized governance capable of sustaining wealth, population, and culture in a challenging desert environment. Language also carries identity and memory. Inscriptions may preserve personal names, titles, or lineages, linking individuals to the city and creating continuity across generations. They provide evidence of social structures, familial ties, and community organization, reinforcing a sense of belonging and shared cultural framework. For modern observers, such inscriptions humanize the lost city, transforming abstract ruins into a living community with stories, ambitions, and relationships encoded in stone. The mystery of these inscriptions fuels both scholarship and imagination. Some remain entirely undeciphered, their meaning obscured by time, sand, and erosion. This ambiguity invites speculation, linking historical investigation with legend. Could these symbols represent a language unique to the city, influenced by neighboring cultures, yet distinct? Might some convey secrets of trade, governance, or ritual that modern knowledge has forgotten? Each unreadable mark becomes an invitation, challenging researchers to bridge gaps between the known and unknown, past and present. Cross-cultural comparisons provide clues. Scholars examine inscriptions from neighboring civilizations, seeking patterns in writing, symbolism, or material usage. Similarities in form or function suggest interaction, trade, or shared knowledge, while differences reinforce the city's uniqueness. Even when direct translation is impossible, comparative analysis helps reconstruct aspects of language structure, social hierarchy, and cultural priorities. In this way, inscriptions become tools for both historical reconstruction and cultural understanding, linking the lost city to broader regional dynamics. Material and placement are significant. Inscriptions carved on durable stone were intended for longevity, whereas those on pottery or perishable materials suggest temporary or practical communication. Placement within streets, homes, or ceremonial areas indicates intended audience, purpose, and cultural importance. Orientation, size, and decorative framing reveal aesthetic sensibilities and communicative priorities. These physical characteristics enhance interpretation, showing that language and symbolism were carefully considered, integrated into both functional and expressive aspects of the city's life. The emotional impact of deciphering inscriptions is profound. Scholars and explorers experience awe and connection when encountering marks made thousands of years ago, bridging temporal and cultural distances. Each symbol evokes human presence, creativity, and intent, reminding us that the city was inhabited by individuals with concerns, beliefs, and ambitions not unlike our own. Even when meaning is uncertain, the act of reading the past provides intimacy with a vanished civilization, offering insight into cognition, communication, and cultural continuity. Inscriptions also underscore the fragility and resilience of human knowledge. While most written records in the Sahara have been lost to erosion and burial, surviving symbols demonstrate both vulnerability and endurance. They survive because of the desert's protection, yet remain incomplete, challenging interpretation and reconstruction. This duality mirrors the city's broader history. A society once powerful and wealthy, now partially obscured, its legacy preserved in fragments that continue to challenge and inspire modern discovery. Finally, mysterious inscriptions remind us that human expression transcends time. They are bridges connecting modern observers to the past, offering insight, emotion, and wonder. Though full understanding may elude us, each mark recovered from the sand emphasizes creativity, communication, and the desire to leave a trace. The lost city's language, visible in these fragments, transforms ruins into narratives, symbols into stories, and silence into dialogue. Through inscriptions, the city speaks again, demanding attention, interpretation, and reverence from those who seek to uncover its secrets. In essence, the mysterious inscriptions and language of the lost city reveal sophistication, belief, governance, and identity. They demonstrate a civilization capable of recording thought, communicating across generations, and embedding meaning in both functional and symbolic forms. These fragments of communication are voices from the past, whispering across millennia, inviting exploration, imagination, and reflection. Inscriptions ensure that the city's story continues to unfold, one symbol at a time, beneath the enduring guardianship of the Sahara sands. The lost city beneath the Sahara was not isolated. It thrived as part of a vast web of trade networks that connected sub-Saharan Africa, the Mediterranean, and beyond. Caravans traversed the desert, carrying salt, gold, ivory, and exotic goods, transforming the city into a hub of commerce and cultural interaction. Its strategic location allowed inhabitants to control trade routes, collect tolls, and exchange goods, ideas, and technologies. Trade was more than an economic activity. It was a conduit for influence, prestige, and cross-cultural engagement that shaped the city's identity and enduring legacy. Material evidence confirms extensive trade connections. Imported pottery, beads, metals, and rare stones discovered in archaeological surveys indicate contact with distant regions. Such artifacts suggest that the city's residents not only imported valuable commodities, but also exported locally produced goods, participating in a dynamic system of exchange. The variety of items points to sophisticated economic organization, including storage facilities, marketplaces, and administrative oversight to manage complex commercial activity. These networks were crucial to sustaining the city's wealth, population, and social structures in the harsh desert environment. Trade also facilitated cultural exchange. Ideas, artistic styles, religious practices, and technologies could spread along caravan routes, influencing architecture, art, and daily life within the city. Certain motifs on pottery, inscriptions, or jewelry suggest external influence blended with local traditions, reflecting adaptation and innovation. The city acted as a crossroads, absorbing foreign elements while asserting a distinct cultural identity. Through trade, inhabitants participated in a broader dialogue, engaging with distant societies and integrating knowledge that enhanced resilience, prestige, and creativity. The human dimension of trade underscores social complexity. Merchants, artisans, and laborers played specialized roles, enabling the city to function efficiently as an economic hub. Traders were not merely carriers of goods. They were cultural intermediaries, transmitting knowledge, stories, and belief systems across regions. Their movement created opportunities for alliances, diplomacy, and social interaction that shaped political power structures and reinforced communal cohesion. Trade networks thus connected material wealth with social and political influence, emphasizing the multifaceted role of commerce in urban life. Desert conditions imposed unique challenges on trade, requiring careful planning, local knowledge, and adaptive strategies. Caravans depended on oases, hidden water sources, and seasonal patterns to navigate safely. The city's control of water and knowledge of terrain would have conferred strategic advantage, allowing residents to regulate trade, collect taxes, or provide logistical support. This integration of environmental mastery with commerce illustrates the ingenuity and foresight necessary to thrive in a demanding landscape, highlighting the interplay between natural resources, human planning, and economic prosperity. Trade networks also magnified the city's vulnerability. Disruptions caused by political instability, rival cities, or environmental shifts could sever access to essential goods and resources. Scarcity could provoke internal tension, reduce wealth accumulation, and challenge governance. Evidence of abandoned marketplaces, incomplete storage facilities, and disrupted infrastructure aligns with patterns of sudden decline, suggesting that trade interruptions may have played a role in destabilizing the city. This interdependence of commerce, politics, and environment underscores the delicate balance that sustained the city and how its disruption could trigger rapid collapse. Artifacts provide insight into the scale and diversity of trade. Exotic materials such as semi-precious stones, metal alloys, and imported ceramics indicate long-distance exchange. Objects designed for display, ceremonial use, or practical function reveal that trade influenced social hierarchy, culture, and spiritual life. Luxury goods were symbols of status, while utilitarian items ensured survival and efficiency. Together, these artifacts portray a society attuned to both aesthetic and functional needs, where commerce reinforced identity, power, and daily life in complex and interwoven ways. Cultural exchange extended beyond material objects. Ideas about governance, ritual, and artistry traveled with merchants, shaping the city's institutions and worldview. Inscriptions, architectural styles, and symbolic motifs suggest influences that merged with indigenous practices, creating a hybrid culture that was uniquely the city's own. Trade became a channel not only for economic gain, but also for knowledge transmission, reinforcing innovation, creativity, and adaptability, qualities essential for survival in the challenging desert environment. The emotional resonance of trade is significant. Caravans arriving from distant lands would have brought excitement, news, and novelty, connecting residents with a wider world. The movement of people, goods, and ideas fostered anticipation, curiosity, and opportunity, enriching daily life and sustaining the city's identity as a hub of interaction. Trade was both practical and symbolic, representing connection, influence, and human ingenuity in the midst of isolation and environmental adversity. In conclusion, trade networks and cultural exchange were central to the lost city's prosperity, identity, and resilience. Commerce shaped material wealth, social hierarchy, political influence, and cultural development. Interaction with distant regions introduced ideas, technology, and artistic expression, enhancing innovation while reinforcing local identity. The city's location and strategic control of resources enabled it to flourish, yet these same connections heightened vulnerability to disruption. Through trade, the Sahara's hidden city existed not as an isolated outpost, but as a vital node in a complex web of human interaction, leaving traces that continue to illuminate the sophistication, ambition, and ingenuity of a vanished civilization. The story of the lost city beneath the Sahara would have remained legend, if not for the painstaking work of archaeologists and explorers who braved the desert's extremes in search of evidence. Modern expeditions, combining traditional fieldwork with cutting-edge technology, have begun to peel back layers of sand and time, revealing foundations, artifacts, and faint traces of streets that hint at a once thriving civilization. Each discovery transforms myth into tangible reality, confirming that beneath the dunes lies a city that was wealthy, organized, and culturally sophisticated. Archaeological surveys rely on a combination of aerial imaging, satellite data, and ground-penetrating radar to locate anomalies beneath the shifting sands. These tools allow researchers to detect structures, walls, and foundations hidden for centuries, providing a roadmap for excavation. Even subtle depressions or irregularities in dune patterns can indicate buried streets or public spaces. By integrating technology with human expertise, modern expeditions overcome environmental challenges, revealing fragments that were once concealed and reconstructing urban layouts, trade zones, and ceremonial areas. Excavation techniques are carefully adapted to the desert environment. Loose sand, extreme temperatures, and fragile materials require delicate methods to prevent damage. Archaeologists often work during cooler periods of the day or year, excavating in layers to preserve context. Each artifact, from pottery shards to metal fragments, is cataloged meticulously, ensuring that even minor discoveries contribute to the broader understanding of the city. This painstaking process reveals not only physical structures, but also insights into social organization, economic systems, and daily life, creating a multidimensional portrait of the civilization. Modern expeditions also benefit from interdisciplinary collaboration. Geologists, climatologists, historians, and linguists work alongside archaeologists to interpret findings. Geological analysis can reconstruct historical climate patterns, explaining water availability, agriculture, and environmental pressures. Linguistic study of inscriptions and symbolic artifacts illuminates communication, ritual, and governance. Historical research contextualizes artifacts within regional dynamics, trade networks, and cultural exchange. By combining expertise, modern expeditions piece together a holistic understanding of the city, moving beyond isolated fragments toward a coherent narrative. Fieldwork often uncovers unexpected revelations that challenge previous assumptions. For example, initial surveys may suggest a small settlement, but excavation might reveal expansive streets, complex drainage systems, and monumental architecture indicative of a large, organized urban center. Artifacts imported from distant regions provide evidence of wide-reaching trade networks, while inscriptions hint at governance, religion, and social hierarchy. Each discovery expands our understanding of the city's complexity and underscores the interplay of myth, legend, and material reality, reshaping perceptions of Saharan civilizations. Human perseverance is central to these modern expeditions. Researchers endure extreme heat, sandstorms, isolation, and logistical challenges in pursuit of knowledge. Each day in the field is a test of endurance and patience, where small discoveries can justify months of arduous labor. The desert environment shapes not only the ancient city, but also the modern quest to uncover it, creating a parallel narrative of human courage, dedication, and curiosity. Emotional highs accompany each fragment uncovered, each inscription deciphered, reinforcing the connection between contemporary explorers and the vanished civilization they study. Archaeological discoveries also reveal patterns of life, survival, and decline. The arrangement of streets, public spaces, and dwellings provides insight into urban planning, social stratification, and daily routines. Burial sites and ceremonial artifacts shed light on spiritual practices, mortality, and belief systems. Evidence of tools, workshops, and marketplaces illustrates labor organization, trade, and technological capabilities. Together, these discoveries transform the lost city from legend into a detailed and humanized reality, allowing modern audiences to imagine its vibrancy, ingenuity, and eventual vulnerability. Modern expeditions sometimes intersect with local knowledge and oral history. Nomadic communities who have traversed the Sahara for generations hold invaluable insights into hidden water sources, ancient paths, and previously unidentified ruins. Collaborating with these communities provides researchers with practical guidance, cultural context, and interpretive frameworks. Such partnerships bridge ancient memory and contemporary scholarship, integrating traditional knowledge into the scientific pursuit of discovery. The desert, once a barrier, becomes a partner in revealing the city's secrets. Technological advances continue to push the boundaries of what can be discovered. Drones capture aerial perspectives, revealing alignments and patterns invisible from the ground. Satellite imagery detects subtle anomalies in vegetation, sand movement, or topography, guiding fieldwork to likely locations of ruins. Ground-penetrating radar and other geophysical tools map subsurface structures without excavation, preserving fragile sites while providing critical information. These innovations accelerate the pace of discovery, allowing archaeologists to explore regions previously considered inaccessible or too dangerous, and to uncover the lost city in unprecedented detail. The narrative of archaeological discovery is also a story of mystery and suspense. Each fragment raises questions. What function did this building serve? Who owned this artifact? What event caused abandonment? The process of piecing together clues mirrors detective work, where interpretation and imagination complement empirical evidence. Every excavation, survey, and analysis contributes to a gradually emerging picture of the city, revealing human ambition, resilience, and ingenuity while preserving the enigma that draws explorers and scholars alike. Emotional resonance defines the experience of discovery. For researchers, uncovering a well-preserved wall, deciphering a fragment of inscription, or unearthing a ceremonial object evokes awe, wonder, and connection to the city's long-vanished inhabitants. Each artifact provides a tangible link across millennia, affirming the existence of a society that overcame extreme conditions, organized complex systems, and expressed creativity, spirituality, and social cohesion. The emotional impact bridges time, making history palpable and humanizing an otherwise distant civilization. In conclusion, archaeological discoveries and modern expeditions transform the lost city from legend to tangible reality. By combining technology, interdisciplinary research, traditional knowledge, and human perseverance, explorers uncover streets, artifacts, inscriptions, and structures that reveal the city's complexity, wealth, and cultural sophistication. Each discovery deepens understanding, sparks curiosity, and amplifies mystery, showing that the Sahara conceals both challenge and reward. The ongoing pursuit of knowledge connects modern explorers with a vanished civilization, creating a narrative of resilience, ambition, and discovery that continues to unfold beneath the sands. Piecing together the final days of the lost city is a complex puzzle, combining physical evidence, environmental analysis, and historical inference. Signs of sudden abandonment, disrupted trade, and incomplete structures suggest a society facing multiple pressures simultaneously. By examining ruins, artifacts, and inscriptions in context, researchers attempt to reconstruct the chain of events that led to a rapid decline, transforming a thriving civilization into a ghostly imprint beneath the Sahara's relentless sands. Environmental stress emerges as a central factor. Drought, shifting water sources, and desertification would have created extreme scarcity, threatening agriculture, livestock, and human survival. Reservoirs and wells, once reliable, may have dried or become contaminated, forcing desperate measures. Archaeological evidence shows areas abandoned quickly, suggesting residents fled in search of sustenance, leaving behind homes, tools, and personal possessions. Such patterns imply that environmental collapse acted as a catalyst, compelling rapid decision-making and mass movement. Trade disruption likely compounded environmental challenges. The city's prosperity depended on the flow of goods and resources along desert caravan routes. Interruptions due to regional conflict, political instability, or natural obstacles would have severed vital supplies. Scarcity of food, metals, and luxury items could destabilize social hierarchies, provoke unrest, and accelerate migration or collapse. Evidence of half-filled storage facilities, abandoned markets, and scattered trade goods reflects the impact of disrupted commerce on both daily survival and broader societal structure. Archaeological signs of structural failure and potential conflict also hint at chaos. Collapsed walls, burned areas, and hastily abandoned buildings suggest violent episodes or civil unrest may have occurred alongside environmental and economic pressures. Weapon remnants and defensive structures indicate preparedness for threat, yet incomplete fortifications imply either sudden attack or rapid evacuation. These physical traces evoke urgency, fear, and human vulnerability, painting the city's final days as a period of intense stress and fragmented social order. Social factors likely influenced the pace and nature of decline. Governance structures dependent on wealth, trade, and centralized control would have struggled under pressure. Elite authority may have weakened as resources dwindled, reducing coordination and decision-making capacity. Families and communal groups may have dispersed, seeking safety, food, or opportunity elsewhere. Archaeological patterns, including scattered domestic artifacts and disrupted ceremonial spaces, suggest the fracturing of communal life and ritual observance, amplifying the sense of societal collapse. The desert itself accelerated the city's erasure. Shifting sands quickly covered streets, homes, and public spaces, obscuring traces and preserving others in delicate balance. Sandstorms, erosion, and dune migration effectively recorded the city's final moments, burying evidence and amplifying the mystery of sudden disappearance. The environment, once a resource to be managed, became an agent of concealment, transforming the city's decline into a legend and making modern reconstruction both challenging and emotionally evocative. Human behavior under stress is evident in the archaeological record. Tools left mid-use, meals abandoned, and personal items scattered suggest panic and urgent decision-making. These remnants illustrate the psychological impact of crisis, showing residents confronting fear, uncertainty, and the imperative to survive. By analyzing these human traces, researchers gain insight not only into the mechanics of decline, but also into the lived experience of those who witnessed the city's final days, adding depth and poignancy to the historical narrative. Ritual and spiritual life may have persisted even as decline intensified. Partial inscriptions, abandoned ceremonial objects, and traces of offerings suggest attempts to appease deities or invoke protection. These actions indicate resilience, belief, and hope amidst chaos, highlighting the interplay between cultural practices and human response to crisis. Spiritual continuity amidst environmental and social collapse underscores the depth of human adaptation, emotion, and meaning-making in extreme circumstances. Trade, political, and environmental pressures were not isolated but intertwined. The combined effect likely created a tipping point, accelerating the city's decline beyond recovery. Evidence suggests that abandonment occurred rapidly, leaving little opportunity for organized evacuation or preservation of wealth. The convergence of natural and human factors transforms the final days into a narrative of compounded vulnerability, illustrating the fragility of even the most sophisticated societies in the face of simultaneous crises. Modern interpretation of the city's last days relies on both material evidence and deductive reasoning. By integrating artifacts, architectural analysis, environmental reconstruction, and comparative studies of similar civilizations, researchers construct plausible scenarios. While uncertainty remains, these reconstructions provide a vivid, emotionally resonant picture of human struggle, resilience, and adaptation, allowing contemporary audiences to imagine life and loss in a vanished metropolis. Ultimately, unraveling the city's final days transforms archaeological fragments into a story of urgency, human emotion, and survival instinct. The lost city's decline exemplifies the delicate balance between environmental mastery, social organization, and economic stability. Its sudden abandonment, preserved beneath shifting sands, reminds us that even wealth, ingenuity, and culture cannot always withstand the convergence of natural and human forces. The Sahara's concealment of the city amplifies the drama, mystery, and poignancy of its final chapter. In essence, the final days of the lost city were a convergence of environmental stress, trade disruption, social fragmentation, and possible conflict. Archaeological evidence paints a vivid picture of sudden abandonment, human vulnerability, and enduring mystery. By examining these traces, we gain insight into the fragility of human societies, the power of nature, and the resilience of human culture, while the Sahara preserves the story of a civilization that vanished almost overnight, yet continues to captivate imagination and scholarly inquiry. The mystery of the lost city's disappearance has inspired countless theories, blending archaeology, history, climatology, and legend. Scholars, explorers, and storytellers have proposed scenarios ranging from environmental catastrophe to invasion, social collapse, or even mystical forces. Each theory attempts to explain how a wealthy, sophisticated, and strategically located city could vanish almost completely beneath the Sahara's sands, leaving only fragments, inscriptions, and echoes of human ambition. One prominent theory emphasizes environmental disaster. Desertification, prolonged drought, and shifting water sources could have made survival increasingly difficult. Agricultural systems would have failed, livestock perished, and access to fresh water become unreliable. Archaeological evidence of abandoned wells, cisterns, and fields supports the notion of environmental stress. Such pressure would have forced residents to disperse, migrate, or perish, turning once thriving streets into empty expanses and leaving structures incomplete. In this view, nature itself was the decisive agent of disappearance, demonstrating the fragility of human settlements in harsh climates. Another theory focuses on economic collapse. The city's prosperity relied on trade networks spanning the Sahara and beyond. Disruption of these routes due to conflict, political upheaval, or shifting alliances could have severed access to essential resources and luxury goods. Scarcity might have undermined social cohesion, weakened elite authority, and triggered unrest or mass exodus. Artifacts found in disordered contexts, abandoned marketplaces, storage areas, and unfinished workshops support this perspective, highlighting how intertwined commerce, wealth, and survival were in sustaining the city. Conflict and invasion provide a third explanation. The city's wealth and strategic location may have made it a target for raiders, rival states, or internal factions. Evidence of burned buildings, hastily abandoned defensive structures, and scattered weaponry suggest the possibility of violence or sudden attack. Warfare or internal strife could have compounded environmental and economic pressures, accelerating abandonment and leaving residents with little time to preserve wealth or maintain urban infrastructure. Such scenarios underscore the vulnerability of even sophisticated societies to human aggression. Some scholars explore social and political factors. Governance structures reliant on centralized control, elite authority, and organized labor may have faltered under combined pressures. Leadership failure, population discontent, or factionalism could have amplified stress during environmental or economic crises. Patterns of abandonment, disrupted ceremonial spaces, and scattered domestic artifacts point to social fragmentation, highlighting how human decisions and societal organization shape survival. The city's collapse may therefore have been as much internal as external, reflecting the limits of social resilience. Theories also extend into the realm of cultural and religious interpretation. Oral histories, mythic accounts, and symbolic inscriptions have led some to speculate that spiritual or ritual factors influence decline. Whether through ritual neglect, symbolic misfortune, or societal shifts in belief systems, these elements may have contributed to social destabilization. While less tangible than environmental or political explanations, such interpretations emphasize the human dimension of perception, fear, and decision-making, illustrating that culture and belief shape responses to crisis. Climatic and geological evidence adds nuance to each theory. Studies of historical rainfall, sediment layers, and vegetation patterns indicate periods of rapid environmental change capable of overwhelming human adaptation. Sudden desertification, sandstorms, or shifts in river courses could have undermined water supply and agriculture, making urban survival unsustainable. When combined with disrupted trade, social tension, or conflict, these environmental changes could precipitate rapid abandonment, lending credence to multifactorial explanations that blend natural and human causes. Some researchers propose a combination of factors, suggesting that no single cause explains the city's disappearance. Instead, environmental stress, economic disruption, social fragmentation, and external threats may have converged, creating a tipping point beyond which survival was impossible. This integrated theory aligns with the archaeological record, which shows signs of urgency, disruption, and incomplete structures rather than evidence of gradual decline. The suddenness of abandonment supports a model of cascading failures, emphasizing both the complexity and vulnerability of ancient urban life. Legends and oral histories complicate understanding while enhancing intrigue. Stories of treasure, divine wrath, or miraculous disappearance have been passed down across generations, blending fact and imagination. While not empirical evidence, these narratives provide cultural context and reveal how the city's decline was perceived and remembered. They also reflect human fascination with loss, wealth, and mystery, showing that disappearance is not only a historical phenomenon, but a narrative shaped by perception, memory, and imagination. Theories of disappearance also intersect with modern exploration and archaeology. Researchers test hypotheses against evidence. Excavated ruins, artifact patterns, inscriptions, and environmental data. Radiocarbon dating, sediment analysis, and artifact provenance help refine timelines, while comparison with other Saharan and North African sites provides regional context. By evaluating competing explanations, scholars construct a coherent, if still partial, understanding of why the city vanished. This scientific rigor transforms speculation into reasoned interpretation while preserving the aura of mystery that surrounds the site. Emotionally, the city's disappearance resonates because it embodies impermanence and human vulnerability. The contrast between wealth, sophistication, and sudden erasure evokes awe, melancholy, and curiosity. Each theory, environmental, economic, social, or military, underscores how delicate human achievement can be in the face of multiple pressures. The lost city becomes a mirror reflecting human ambition, fragility, and the unpredictable forces of nature and society, reminding us that even the most impressive civilizations are not immune to sudden change. In conclusion, theories of disappearance provide frameworks to understand the enigmatic vanishing of a lost city beneath the Sahara. Environmental catastrophe, trade collapse, conflict, social fragmentation, and cultural factors all offer plausible explanations, while an integrated approach recognizes the interplay of multiple causes. These theories, supported by archaeological, environmental, and historical evidence, illuminate both the fragility and resilience of human civilization. Yet the mystery remains partly unresolved, maintaining the city's power to captivate imagination, inspire exploration, and challenge our understanding of history. The allure of these theories lies not only in solving a historical puzzle, but in connecting modern observers with human stories across millennia. Each explanation offers insight into survival, adaptation, and failure, transforming ruins into lessons and legends. The city's disappearance, whether through sand, scarcity, conflict, or societal collapse, continues to evoke curiosity, wonder, and reflection, making it a timeless testament to both human achievement and the impermanence of even the grandest civilizations. Beneath the sands of the Sahara, the lost city is more than stone, artifact, or inscription. It is a repository of human emotion, ambition, and vulnerability. Archaeological evidence transforms abstract history into intimate human stories, revealing lives filled with hope, fear, devotion, and struggle. Families, traders, artisans, and leaders all contributed to a civilization that thrived in harsh conditions, yet faced abrupt upheaval. By tracing their traces, we connect with the emotional heartbeat of a vanished society, understanding not only what they built, but how they lived, loved, and endured. Daily life emerges through the material record. Tools left mid-use, meals prepared but never consumed, and personal items scattered in abandoned homes reveal moments frozen in time. These artifacts evoke the presence of individuals with routines, aspirations, and relationships, offering a window into the human experience. The emotional resonance is immediate. We can imagine children playing in narrow streets, families preparing for market, or artisans crafting objects with care and pride. Each fragment connects us across millennia to the humanity that endured, celebrated, and faced loss within this hidden city. Trade and cultural exchange contributed to both prosperity and emotional life. Caravans brought not only goods, but also news, ideas, and encounters with distant peoples. Merchants and travelers carried stories, rumors, and knowledge, creating a social network that extended far beyond the city's walls. The excitement, anticipation, and occasional danger of these interactions added texture to daily existence, shaping identity and fostering connections that linked the Sahara's hidden metropolis to a broader human story. Such networks reinforced emotional and cultural vibrancy, showing that even in isolation, the city's residents were part of a larger human tapestry. Spiritual and ritual life is another dimension of emotional legacy. Inscriptions, ceremonial objects, and altars suggest practices designed to maintain harmony, invoke protection, or commemorate the sacred. These rituals reflect deep human concerns, fear of scarcity, hope for divine favor, and the need to find meaning in a harsh and unpredictable environment. The persistence of such practices amidst environmental stress and social challenges illustrates resilience, faith, and creativity, emphasizing that emotion and belief were as integral to survival as material resources. Conflict, stress, and eventual abandonment further illuminate human experience. Signs of hurried departure, abandoned possessions, and disrupted daily routines reveal moments of fear, uncertainty, and urgency. Social hierarchies may have fractured under pressure, alliances shifted, and communities dispersed. Through these traces, we glimpse the psychological and emotional toll of environmental collapse, trade disruption, or external threat. The city's final days were not only a historical event, but a lived human drama, captured in the silent testimony of material culture. Stories of individual and collective resilience resonate strongly. Artisans continued work despite scarcity. Families adapted to shifting conditions, and leaders navigated crises that tested social cohesion. Even in the face of decline, the traces of perseverance, carefully crafted objects, ceremonial continuity, and evidence of resource management illustrate human ingenuity and the determination to endure. These stories humanize the lost city, transforming archaeological evidence into narrative, empathy, and reflection. The emotional legacy is also present in the modern encounter with the city. Researchers, explorers, and local communities experience awe, wonder, and connection when uncovering ruins and artifacts. Each discovery evokes empathy, imagination, and curiosity, linking contemporary observers with the ancient inhabitants. The process of excavation, interpretation, and storytelling becomes an emotional journey, paralleling the struggles and triumphs of those who lived millennia ago. By engaging with the city, we honor not only its history, but also the human experiences embedded within it. Cultural memory amplifies emotional resonance. Oral traditions, legends, and local narratives preserve fragments of experience, embedding meaning into landscape and story. These memories, though shaped by time, reflect the values, fears, and aspirations of past communities. They create continuity, connecting contemporary observers with long-vanished individuals, and reminding us that human stories persist even when physical structures erode. The lost city thus exists simultaneously in material evidence, imagination, and memory, its emotional impact spanning generations. Human stories also underscore the fragility of civilization. The contrast between wealth, sophistication, and sudden abandonment highlights vulnerability in the face of environmental, social, and economic pressures. The city's disappearance evokes empathy, awe, and reflection, illustrating that human achievement is always contingent on circumstance, resilience, and adaptability. The emotional legacy reminds us that history is not merely dates and artifacts, but lived experience, frailty, and courage, a tapestry of human lives woven into the desert landscape. In conclusion, the emotional legacy and human stories of the lost city transform archaeological and historical inquiry into a profoundly human narrative. Daily life, trade, ritual, and crisis converge to reveal a society rich in ambition, creativity, and resilience, yet subject to abrupt upheaval. By engaging with these traces, modern observers connect across millennia with hopes, fears, and struggles that are universally human. The lost city, though vanished beneath the sands, endures as a testament to the emotional depth, complexity, and resilience of its inhabitants, reminding us that human stories persist even when civilizations disappear. As the last traces of the lost city emerge from beneath the Sahara sands, one is struck by both wonder and uncertainty. Despite decades of archaeological research, modern expeditions, and interdisciplinary study, the city's full story remains elusive. Every wall uncovered, every inscription deciphered, and every artifact examined provides answers, yet also raises new questions. The more we learn, the more we confront the enduring mystery of how a civilization so sophisticated, prosperous, and culturally vibrant could vanish almost without a trace, leaving only echoes beneath endless dunes. The city's mystery invites reflection on human achievement and fragility. It demonstrates how ingenuity, organization, and cultural sophistication can flourish even in extreme environments, yet also highlights the precariousness of survival in the face of environmental, social, and economic pressures. Each discovery reminds us that human history is shaped not only by ambition and creativity, but also by contingency, vulnerability, and unforeseen forces. The Sahara, with its relentless heat, shifting sands, and hidden dangers, was both a cradle and a grave for this civilization, a powerful reminder of nature's dual role as nurturer and eraser. Modern encounters with the city are as much emotional as they are scientific. Archaeologists and explorers report awe at discovering streets buried for millennia, wonder at inscriptions carved by human hands, and empathy for those who once walked these now empty corridors. The human presence captured in artifacts, tools, and ceremonial objects transcends time, forging a connection between past and present. Through this bridge, we experience not just the achievements of a vanished city, but the lives, struggles, and aspirations of its people, creating a deeply human narrative that resonates across centuries. The city's disappearance also evokes philosophical and existential reflection. How does a society so rich in culture, knowledge, and infrastructure succumb to forces beyond its control? Theories of environmental collapse, trade disruption, social fragmentation, and conflict provide plausible explanations, yet the exact sequence of events remains unknown. This uncertainty compels us to grapple with broader questions. What determines the endurance of civilizations? How do environment, society, and human decision-making converge to shape destiny? The city's silence beneath the sands encourages contemplation about the impermanence of human accomplishment and the unpredictable forces that govern history. Legends, oral histories, and speculative narratives surrounding the city amplify its mystique. Stories of hidden treasure, miraculous disappearance, and divine intervention have been passed down for generations, blending fact with imagination. These tales, while unverified, enrich the emotional and cultural significance of the city, illustrating how human imagination preserves memory and meaning even when physical evidence is fragmentary. The interplay of archaeology, science, and legend creates a layered understanding, where mystery coexists with evidence and imagination complements interpretation. The city also challenges modern assumptions about ancient civilizations. Its urban planning, trade networks, inscriptions, and cultural artifacts reveal sophistication often underestimated in Saharan history. The scale and complexity of the city suggest political organization, economic strategy, and social cohesion comparable to contemporary societies elsewhere in the world. This challenges Eurocentric or coastal-centric perspectives, emphasizing that human ingenuity has flourished in diverse environments and reminding us to reevaluate narratives of cultural achievement and historical significance. Environmental lessons emerge as well. The city's decline underscores the impact of climate, water management, and resource scarcity on human societies. Its disappearance is a cautionary tale about adaptation, resilience, and the consequences of environmental shifts. Modern audiences may reflect on parallels in contemporary societies facing ecological stress, population pressure, and resource challenges. The Lost City serves as both a historical case study and a mirror, inviting reflection on sustainability, vulnerability, and the relationship between humans and their environment. Emotionally, the enduring mystery resonates because it is incomplete. The absence of a definitive conclusion, the partial decipherment of inscriptions, and the hidden structures still buried beneath sand provoke curiosity, imagination, and wonder. This unresolved narrative transforms the city into a story that is never fully closed, allowing each generation to engage, theorize, and dream. Mystery becomes a tool for connection, drawing viewers and researchers into an active relationship with the past, where every question inspires exploration and every answer raises new possibilities. The city's legacy is both tangible and symbolic. Physical remnants, foundations, artifacts, inscriptions provide evidence of human ingenuity, social organization, and cultural life. Symbolically, the city embodies ambition, resilience, and the interplay of human action with uncontrollable forces. Its story invites reflection on mortality, impermanence, an enduring capacity for wonder. The sands that conceal the city simultaneously preserve it, allowing the past to speak across millennia, offering lessons, inspiration, and profound emotional resonance. In conclusion, reflection on the lost city beneath the Sahara encourages both intellectual and emotional engagement. Its disappearance, while partially explained by environmental, economic, and social factors, retains an aura of mystery that continues to captivate scholars, explorers, and the public. The city challenges us to consider the fragility and resilience of human civilizations, the impact of environmental and societal forces, and the ways in which stories, artifacts, and imagination preserve memory. It stands as a testament to human creativity, ambition, and vulnerability, reminding us that even the most sophisticated societies can vanish, yet their legacy endures in the echoes they leave behind. Ultimately, the lost city is more than a historical site. It is a mirror reflecting the human condition. It invites us to wonder, to question, and to connect with lives separated by millennia, to see achievement and failure, hope and despair, and the impermanence of human endeavor. The enduring mystery challenges our understanding, inspires exploration, and leaves us with a profound sense of awe. As the Sahara's sands continue to shift, the city waits patiently to reveal more secrets, reminding us that history is alive, enigmatic, and forever inviting reflection. What if this secret changes how we see civilization, survival, and the story of humanity itself?